This is an honorable mention with Jeff Schwartz and Shane Hagedorn.
Part of the Creative Control Network of podcasts.
In the shuffling madness of the locomotive breath runs the all-time loser headlong to his death. Oh, it feels a piston scraping, steam breaking on his brow. Oh, Charlie stole the handle, and the train it won't stop going. No, it could slow down.
Hey now, happy 2 for Tuesday, and welcome to another chapter of An Honorable Mention, the essential Ring of Honor retrospective podcast covering the most successful independent wrestling promotion of this generation. I am your host, Jeff Schwartz. Alongside is my co-host, our expert analyst, the head of logistics and Ring of Honor alumni, Shane Hagedorn.
That's me. That's me.
Once a heel,
Yes.
always a heel.
Woo.
Yeah, well, partner, this is going to be a fun one this week.
Yeah.
We've got finally kind of a minimal stress-free week, although you're dealing with a sick kid at home. And
Yeah.
we've gotten to enjoy a good show, like all down the card.
Yeah. And a historic show in its own right. At least in its pocket of, it was a pretty big deal, this show in that moment of 2007.
And it's kind of cool looking back 12 years later and not being sad about this show. Because at the time, we're doing Good Times, Great Memories today. And at the time, it was really sad for me.
Yeah, I'm sure.
To lose Cabana. I, at the same time, was super excited and thrilled for him. Unfortunately, I didn't know what the end result would be and where we'd come back to, but at the time, I was super optimistic we had ourselves the next Dusty Rhodes on our hands. And there was going to be a lot of Colt Cabana merchandise on kids and action figures at Toys R Us and, well,
And
we know how that
someone to represent besides Goldberg and Raven.
You know what? The Jew thing, I didn't even think about that, to be honest. But yeah, I guess looking back on it, that just shows you how minimal being Jewish is.
That's
part
why.
of my life.
That's why I poke at it, because I've pretty much learned that aside from Tree, every Jewish man I know are the worst Jews ever. They know nothing of their own.
It's weird because on one hand, my family, one side was very into the religion and very serious about it, and the other side kind of just let me find my own path.
Yeah.
And
it was not forced upon you.
yeah, my dad's side didn't ever force it upon me, and my mom's side very much so forced it upon me. So I identified with Colt a lot because his family never really pushed it on him. And he played it up, to the point where, yeah, there were, I Star of David Colt t-shirts and things of that nature. But, we always used to joke about when the first night of Hanukkah was, because I'd always wish him a happy Hanukkah, but it'd be on the wrong night because it's different first night every year, and we'd get a kick out of that. But Colt's somebody that meant a lot to me personally. Just always was kind to me. We engaged a lot in things that were not related to wrestling. I know this is an audio show, but I have Good Times, Great Memories tattooed on my forearms because Colt meant so much. It's the same as I have part of Cult of Personality tattooed on one of my arms.
I also have Good Times, Great Memories tattooed on my body, but you can only see it when I'm excited.
Very, very, very funny. Ha ha ha. But it's just a somebody that is so relatable, and you see them go on to this great success. It's kind of exciting to talk about now, looking back on it, because I think Colt Cabana's legacy is being not only the godfather of independent wrestling, but he's the reason we're doing this show. Not only because of the main event and where he was going, but because of podcasting. So thanks, Colt.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if Godfather of professional wrestling, but definitely Godfather of podcasts.
Independent professional wrestling. I mean, here's a guy that can make a living, was really one of the first people to make a living as an independent wrestler through places like Pro Wrestling Tees. And, he wrote a children's book. He really has, and I hope he knows this, and if he hears this, or if I ever have to tell him to go listen to this show, he's left a lasting impact by putting smiles on the faces. I know it's a WWE phrase, but he's made more people smile and genuinely laugh at things he's done in the ring. And it's so appreciative that we can take ourselves out of our lives and go see him do this kind of thing. And
just I think you said the impact on this world of podcasting, essentially creating it as far as wrestling goes. It didn't really, whatever may have existed before him, the Art of Wrestling made the wrestling podcast. There's no Conrad Thompson plethora of podcasts without something to wrestle. There's no Russo brand without the art of wrestling, without the art of wrestling. Yes, I meant that the first time. Like I firmly believe that all of these exist because of the groundwork that Cabana laid and continues to do with the revised format of the Art of Wrestling over the last year.
The docu-series, which has provided some really fun moments. I can't tell you how much I enjoy the new version and the old version. Yeah. It's two different essential heads, and if he did, on a Tuesday, let's say, later in the day, he dropped a show with an interview and then did his vlog version on Thursdays, I wouldn't be opposed.
Just still bitter. I'm bitter I was never on Art of Wrestling. The Grizzly was. Damn it, son of a bitch.
Yeah, Grizzly's getting in my ass too this week.
Damn Uncle Colt.
But we, as much as we want to blow smoke up Cabana's ass because he deserves it, we do have to support our show. And we want to remind everybody to head over to patreon.com/honorablepod, the exclusive home of the ROH on HDNet Look Back series, where we watch every episode of ROH on HDNet and do commentary over it, talk about the happenings before and after, some of the matches themselves. And it's really been a fun look back so far through 4 episodes. So that's at patreon.com/honorablepod. The other benefits of Patreon, for $12 a month, you can watch us on video, making hand gestures at each other, and you can see an honorable mention merchandise, including that hat on Shane Hagedorn's head, the t-shirts behind him, as well as the hoodie, all available at it'sadvdproduct.com. But you get a 15% off code on Patreon. You also receive a DVD from my personal collection for every month that you are a subscriber at the $12 tier. That is Dropbox for international customers and by request. The other benefits of Patreon include getting the show early, ad-free, intro, outro free. The raw audio goes up on Saturday before the Tuesday drop. So I want to thank everybody over at Patreon for supporting the show. It's a DVDproduct.com, the home of our merchandise. And if you make an order of merchandise, guess what? You get a DVD as well. Your choice. So head over to it'sadvdproduct.com. They're the presenting sponsor for this week's episode. And if you'd like to advertise your independent wrestling show, your podcast, your merchandise store, head over to advertisecast.com/an honorable mention with Shane Hagedorn Jeff. That's advertisecast.com/an honorable mention with Shane Hagedorn Jeff. And submit your advertisements, and we'll read it on the air. And, a plethora of people will get to hear it every week. We're also sponsored by Collar and Elbow, promo code AHM, 10% off your order, and a little bit of that order gets kicked back to us So we would appreciate you supporting all of our various endeavors to keep the show going.
And of course, even though they're not an official sponsor this week, Tej Hanley, code honorable mention. Give me some nice soft skin, like the fact that I'm just sitting here rubbing my own face after using their stuff this morning.
Now, if they were watching on Patreon, they could have picked up on that hand signal, because I was going to transition into a Tej Hanley promo, talking about how silky smooth my skin is, even with my nice little tan that I got going. You can use the skincare cream, the scrub, the face wash, mornings and nights, and still keep your tan going. And to be the man, you must be tan. So, social media, I want to remind everybody to head over to An Honorable Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Also at Facebook. You can find me on Twitter at the Jeff Schwartz. That's also Instagram, same thing. Facebook, drop the, spell my name. There you go. Partner, where can we find you on the interwebs?
At Hagedorn Shane on Twitter and Instagram. Shane Hagedorn on Facebook. There's a Shane Hagedorn YouTube account that it doesn't do that much with anymore. But more importantly, you can also find An Honorable Mention on YouTube. Just search for it and watch some slideshow versions of the archives, some non-ROH matches of the week, my little Eddie Guerrero batch of love that I created, some collections of the video wires. You can even watch the matches we do watch-alongs for on Patreon without our talking.
We are, of course, brought to you by the Creative Control Network. We are the flagship of the Creative Control Network, so be sure to follow the president of the Creative Control Network, our guy, Mr. Joe Feeney. He's on Twitter at JFF, NEY 3RD, and at the CC Network 1 for all the latest news and notes on the Creative Control Network, including our partnership with Spreaker. Be sure to follow our scientist of sound, our astronaut of audio, our purveyor of production, the bass master general technician of trouble, best broadcast machine, the award-winning Mr. Zach Johnson. He's on Twitter and Instagram at RadioZT, and he delivers us the best intro that you've already heard and the best outro that you're going to hear, and make sure we sound cooler than the other side of the pillow.
This week's episode of An Honorable Mention is presented by It'sADVDProduct.com, your exclusive home for merchandise based on An Honorable Mention. Pick up the King of the Dark Matches t-shirt, the Gaijin Godfather shirt, that April 2005 Dorchester event t-shirt, or a new Honorable Mention logo gym bag, or a hat, or a hoodie, or the Tribute to the Trainer zip-up hoodie. There's a ton of merchandise to check out, and it all supports the show directly. It'sADVDProduct.com. Your exclusive home for Honorable Mention merchandise.
Well, partner, I know it's worthy of an honorable mention. Let's dive into it. It's April 28th, 2007, and we are both in Chicago Ridge, Illinois at the Frontier Fieldhouse for good times, great memories, presented by It'sADVDProduct.com, the official merchandise home of an honorable mention, where, surprise, you can use a special promo code heard later in the show for 50% off your order with your purchase of $30 or more. We start with the video wire from April 18th, 2007. And, of course, we start with the fantastic Eric Santamaria voiced ROHvideos.com, the greatest website, not called It'sADVDProduct.com or Patreon.com/honorablepod. Promo that we see every single solitary video wire on every single solitary DVD ever.
Gotta push it.
I mean, the very least we could have had is like a backup video, different clips,
different versions.
Mention some of the talent by name in the video.
Nah.
I mean,
no need.
My God.
No need.
I mean, we've done 60 episodes of this show. I think we've seen this 35 times.
That's very possible.
But we open up with a pretty key cog in a ongoing storyline. Austin Aries invites Eric Stevens into the Resilience. And Stevens, of course, says it would be an honor.
Did you hear, or is it just my ears, the crowd booing this?
Yes, they booed.
They booed.
I don't even know what building this was in. That's how awkward.
I was trying to. I was actually part of what I was doing right now, because I couldn't remember if it was in Lake Grove, Buffalo, for This Means War 2, or if it was Fighting Spirit from Edison. It was one of the two.
I honestly couldn't tell.
So that was the weekend right before this with those two shows.
I watched it, and I'm looking at the crowd, like looking to see familiar faces, and I couldn't even do that the way it was shot from that corner angle. But Matt Cross would head out and join the brawl with the No Remorse Corps, hyping up in St. Paul on April 27th. And, of course, the next night, which is our topic du jour today in Chicago Ridge, April 28th, the Resilients going to clash with the No Remorse Corps. New at ROHWrestling.com back in the day, the 5th year festival in New York with Joe and Morishima. I cannot wait to cover that show next year. Anniversary time. What a super underrated collision of Joe and Morishima in the history of Ring of Honor. I don't think it ever gets enough love. We see Mark Briscoe's massive concussion from Detroit and Fat Me in the front row.
Yeesh. God, that was scary to see again. First time in years that I've seen that. And
it is the first time I have ever seen it on video.
Yeah.
Scariest thing I've ever seen at a wrestling show. The worst thing I've ever seen at a wrestling show. And that really ranks up there amongst the scariest things I've ever seen in my life.
And the fact that here we are less than a month later and he's back in the ring on this show.
Yeah.
He was back in the ring 2 weeks later.
When we cover the show, I'll tell the full story. But yeah, just the scariest thing I've ever seen at a wrestling show. Horrible. But Eric Stevens would team up with Jay to take on Steen and Generico. Kind of an interesting idea of a tag there. The No Remorse Corps would attack. Mark would come from the crowd. Even Zach Yeager couldn't stop him. Mark Briscoe, man on a mission. He gets destroyed by Steen and Generico. And this was kind of the beginning of the Steen and Generico-Briscoe's rivalry.
Yeah, and it was brutal. I mean, just thinking that, because this was Fighting Spirit where that took place in Edison, and just watching it back, it's just a brutal thing to think that he literally 2 weeks before had that crash landing on top of his head, had to spend the night, like he wasn't allowed to leave Detroit immediately. And here he is, 2 weeks later, getting smacked in the head, stomped on his head. Yeah, Mark Briscoe was a crazy man.
Do you think, and not to stay on the Mark Briscoe smacking his head, because that's not this show, but do you think that night in the hospital for Mark had the most eclectic group of visitors in the history of any patient spending a night in the hospital?
It's very possible.
Because, I mean, just judging by the people that were there when I stopped by.
Yeah.
Because I was with Greg H. That night. And, yeah, there was a lot of unique cast of characters that stopped by from ROH and from outside of ROH. So we'll leave it at that. We'll save that for Super Card of Honor 2? 3?
Yeah, 2.
One of those Super Card of Honors. Yeah. We get the news that Steen and Generico are here to stay in Ring of Honor. So I assume they've committed to an array of dates around this time. Going forward.
Sounds about right.
Congratulations, you guys get to drive from Canada everywhere.
Yes, exactly.
Enjoy your free border crossings. And then we get clips from, shout out to Pelly for that one. Clips of Cabana's final matches. We get to see Homicide and Pierce, or teaming with Homicide against Pierce and Albright in St. Paul, and of course one-on-one with longtime friend Adam Pierce in Chicago Ridge, the main event on this very show. So that ends the video wire, but we're not done with bonus material on this DVD. We get the pay-per-view announcement with G-Funk Sports partnering with Ring of Honor. And Kerry Silkin announces that on July 1st, 2007, airing on Dish, In Demand, and TVN Cable, amongst others, Ring of Honor joins the pay-per-view world.
2 months after we film it, with another pay-per-view filmed in between.
May 12th will be the first filming. That's Respect is Earned. Hard to believe it's been 12 years since that show. We see clips of all the Ring of Honor stars who will appear and won't appear, including Bruno Sammartino. Great set of B-roll clips, though. It felt like a real accomplishment at the time.
It did.
And the highlight clips, the B-roll, if you will, was sandwiched in between Kerry thanking all the fans who helped make this possible, and he hopes to see all of us in July on pay-per-view. What was the feeling like when Kerry made the pay-per-view announcement? Or I guess where were you when you found out, hey, we're doing this pay-per-view thing?
At work, in the office.
That's
just another day. Just another day living in the hood. Just another day around the way. I'm feeling good today.
Oh man,
feeling lovely. I was at work. That wasn't, it wasn't like a surprise to me. I knew this was something in progress and being worked on and whatnot. So it was just, okay, now we can tell the world that it's official and here's the date and here's where we're taping it. So, and then it was fun. Now we get to figure out logistics of 2 month delayed pay-per-views. And oh wait, we're taping a pay-per-view in June as well. So before one even airs, we've got 2 in the can. That's awesome.
What was the so when you found out, hey, this is definitely official, it's a done deal, what was the first thought in your head?
Sweet.
And then when you started thinking about logistically how this is going to work from a storyline perspective, what was your thought?
Thank God I'm not Gabe.
Well, there you go, folks. I
don't have to figure this shit out.
Yeah, you just got to show up and put together everything. And there was no real change in ring crew or anything like that with the pay-per-view. It was just
nope.
Set up, tear down, on to the next one.
Exactly.
So that ends kind of the bonus material for this show.
But that announcement was very important because it had a huge impact on this event, as we will discuss.
Very true.
Through. But that the fact that we were going on pay-per-view had a huge impact that you see on this show specifically.
And we can kind of talk about how it compares to recent times in terms of the mass exodus.
Yep.
From promotions. Because right now it appears that there's a lot of people leaving a lot of companies, going to a lot of different places.
Yeah.
Across the board. But to start this DVD, Becky Bayless is outside. Or should I say, thank you. Is showing the line of fans waiting to get into the building. Of course, the rest of the fans were over at Rose's getting delicious pizza and seeing Rose's daughters.
And drinking.
And yes, and drinking. I know I drove in. I did not go to St. Paul. I drove right to Chicago and then right back home. So this was a quick turnaround for me. So my drinking was done before the show because I was trying to be safe.
Smart.
But yeah, it's a great little area. It's a shame Ring of Honor kind of outgrew this building, or this building kind of outgrew Ring of Honor, or undergrew Ring of Honor, I guess. Because the Frontier Fieldhouse is a great place for wrestling, and you had this great pizza place that was like a hole in the wall right next door.
I mean, I don't know what they would. I mean, I get, obviously they're running like the Odeum.
The Odeum.
In Chicago, which is where Anarchy Rules 99 was for ECW. They've definitely outgrown the Frontier Fieldhouse, but I mean, the Frontier Fieldhouse with the right setup, we cut it off. Like, it could still fit a lot more people than even we fit in there on our biggest during my time frame.
It's just kind of on the outskirts of the city.
Yeah.
Whereas the Odeum is more
That's even
centrally
farther.
located. Is it really?
It's in Villa Park. It's like my recollection of driving there in '99 was that it was much farther away. than
Interesting.
driving into the city.
I might have to confer with my partner Mike Dunnigan on which is more closely located to downtown and transit, because that's, to me, that's the central issue. How can you get the most fans to your building?
Yeah, no, that's true.
But Jimmy Jacobs cuts a promo to start the wrestling portion of the DVD.
Allegedly.
Yes. He talks about the promo. In the promo, he talks about the cage match with BJ in Detroit. He says he tore his ACL and says he has scars the rest of his life on his body, reminding him of one specific night. He's a changed man for the rest of his life, he says. Emotionally, he's an improved man because Lacey offered herself up for one night. He says, quote, their bodies together.
It's pretty
He is emotional and genuine. Like, this felt sincere.
it felt long and rambling and repetitious.
Yes.
Like he does repeat himself over and over and over again, saying the exact same thing over and over and over again.
And to me, that's the mark of a scarred man.
You're making excuses because you like Jimmy. This was not a bad promo, but it could have been cut in half and gotten the exact same points across. It felt like he had some idea of where he wanted to go, and Gabe just let him keep going until he got there.
Well, I mean, you can only say the boys are sexual apes so many times.
Yeah. I mean, I've done it. I remember I filmed one with Hero actually in Chicago Ridge where he was talking about the machine guns, and it's like the longest promo on the face of the earth because I just let Hero go until he got to his conclusion, but it ended up being so long. That's kind of what this felt like. Just Gabe let him go until he got to the end, and there's good stuff in there, like the pill bottle that actually has his tooth in there and showing the scars on his knee.
I like that he mentions that the pill bottle with the tooth in it is, quote, not his latest addiction. Which is the prevailing, story that Jimmy has overcome addiction and still fights it day to day.
Yeah.
He takes his pants down, he unwraps, he shows the scar on his knee. He refers to it as forever. Forever. He genuinely seems to be in pain as he's doing this promo.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was nasty.
But he mentions he's not about one-night stands or a notch in his bedpost. Quote, even dogs bang, which that popped me. It really popped me. But it takes a man like him with big balls to love, and he admits to loving Lacey with everything he has, and she's close, he feels it, to loving him too. And he's going to take time to romance her, and he hobbles off with his cane that would eventually become a sword.
And be used to allegedly murder Lacey.
Well, our hosts for the evening are Lenny Leonard and Dave Prazak. Ring of Honor's, I would say, best commentary duo of all time. We open up with a six-man mayhem match. Grand Akuma, Delirious, Jigsaw, Hallowicked, Mike Quackenbush, and Pele Primo.
It's Pele versus Chikara. That's what this match is.
Yep. Pele versus the world of Chikara.
Mm-hmm.
I will freely admit to being a kind of the oddball of the Chikara fan base. There was some of it that I really liked, and there was a lot of it that I really didn't like.
Luckily, this match includes, two of the things I really liked in Jig and Hallowicked.
Yep. And even Akuma to an extent.
Well,
and Quack.
I like Akuma as well. I put Jig and Hallowicked above him because of the personality aspect. And it was weird because there's the moments where and this is over the years, I would see like some of that personality come out in Akuma. And we get a little glimpses of it in here. But it's like knowing the man in real, knowing the man somewhat in real life over, I met him like my first year in the business, and like the real personality versus the in-ring personality. And it's like I don't think any of the Chikara guys during their brief stints in Ring of Honor got to really do more than just have matches.
And
there was an opportunity to be anything else or display a personality or anything like that in the Ring of Honor environment. They were a very odd fit, and I'm sure in 2007 I was like, "What the fuck is this?"
To me, Jigsaw's the only one that had a remote chance to excel on his own.
So we'll take his mask off and
yes,
fuck it.
I mean, it would be unfair of me to say like Grand Akuma, Delirious, Hallowicked didn't deserve spots in Ring of Honor. But essentially it's like taking an American basketball player and putting him on a team in China and expecting to get the same reactions from the crowd.
Yeah,
his teammates.
This is just to me, Gabe using when Hunter used the Chikara people, it made sense for his booking style, for the things he enjoyed in wrestling. For Gabe to use them was just him, to me, saying what do the fans like, what's popular. Let me just throw that on a show and see what happens, and we'll make them drive to St. Paul instead of putting them on a show in Philadelphia or in Jersey.
Yeah, you're exposing them to a new audience. So if these people really like Chikara, here they are.
Hey guys, if you really want to be on a Ring of Honor show, let me not book you on a show close to us. Let's book you in St. Paul.
Well, and with Quackenbush, that's the real interesting one here to me. Like how did he?
No.
Yes, how did he ingratiate himself to not being the headliner?
I don't know. But
because I've heard some stories.
Quack's a character. I talked about it before when we did the Eric Viking episode, like his TED Talk type thing that's on YouTube, where he's got great ideas about what wrestling is and how it can be everything to everybody and whatnot. And I agree with that. But then there's the things which I talked about in my experience in Chikara episode that I didn't like at the time, like,
available in the archives.
Yes. He's an interesting character. Don't know how else to describe him. Stylistically, he knows a lot of shit and can do a lot of shit. Just a lot of it looked soft and fake and rehearsed to me. Mm-hmm. Especially at that time when I was far more critical of things that weren't just punching motherfuckers in the face. You weren't just you were just like punching people in the face. I was like, I ain't fucking wrestling. I'm a grumpy old man and I'm only like 25. I've been wrestling for 3 years, damn it. I know what I'm talking about.
Meanwhile, Quack had like 20 years in at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Just it didn't. It's he's gifted. He's very gifted in the ring. It was just his style didn't translate to me as something I was a fan of because it looked soft.
Every time I see him, I just think of somebody talking like this. I am Mike Quackenbush. Check out this weird submission hold. It's going to go sideways, and then your arm's going to go behind your head, and your leg is going to go in front of your face, and you're going to turn this way, and I'm going to turn this way, and then this is how I'm going to put a match together. Well,
there's a great example that I can sum up kind of what my thoughts were then, and in some ways still are now. He puts Pelly in the submission hold and just holds it for a second and then lets him go.
Making the submission meaningless.
Exactly. Like Pelly wasn't getting out of it. He just let him go. It was just you put him in it so you show you could do it, and then put it and then just moves on to something else. And that kind of, in a nutshell, summed up like things that I didn't like. On the other hand, I think the reason why I enjoyed the people like Hallowicked, Akuma, Jigsaw, Kingston, Sweeney, because remember it's easy to forget because of the way he wrestled that Sweeney was a product of Chikara as well. Mm-hmm. That wasn't their style. Like Jig and Hallowicked had more of those lucha-esque elements to their stuff, but they were more than that. And I think that's why those are the guys that I really looked at as they were the standouts to me.
Do you think Chikara is a pro wrestling cult where people just can't escape it? And that's why these guys have never become stars elsewhere?
Yes, I have definitely heard that and seen that and had conversations about that with various members of their roster across the years. And sometimes people get away and they drift back. And yeah, I mean, the stories I've been told over the years of people having their gimmicks essentially forced upon them, but then they have to pay for them, and then if they want to leave, they have to buy out the gimmick. These are just various stories I've been told over the years of Chikara, and it's that sounds calling it a cult is to say it's not the first time I've heard that, and I've heard that from wrestlers as well as fans.
That's why I asked, because I think we've both heard, very similar tales and intimidation tactics from Quack that I could recite firsthand from people that I know.
I mean, my simple experience was being fired without ever being told I shouldn't say fired because I was employed, but just having my last show and no one ever telling me it was my last show. Quack didn't. Quack never said this is my last show to me. It was Cheech and Cloudy and everyone else on the roster.
He never allegedly mailed you a rat inside of a ring.
No.
So you got that going for you.
Yeah. So it was with their presence in Ring of Honor, it was an odd fit because of knowing having some idea of Gabe's preferences in wrestling, but this was also okay, these guys are popular, so let's just put them in Ring of Honor and see what they can do.
Specific to this match,
especially against each other.
Yeah, it's kind of a safe test.
Yeah. It's kind of similar to when they would branch out into IWA, when Quack would take his kids to IWA for no money, allegedly, and
Quack would work Claudio.
They would have their matches against each other, it's kind of what I looked at this as. And then Pelly, I even told him that for being less than a year, that he, was pretty solid, and he just wrote, "I was poop." And I was like, dude, give yourself a little credit.
Did he have a little hamster emoji thing that he put in there too? Because I feel like that would have been in the message.
No, but it was just, I don't know. I thought for being less than a year, and I thought he more than held his own with all of these guys.
He's the pride of Nome, Alaska. I would expect nothing less. I thought he looked great here.
Mm-hmm.
He definitely fit with the Chikara style.
Yeah.
I thought the crowd reacted to him as well. A lot more than they reacted to Akuma. A lot more than they, reacted to Delirious flipping the bell, flipping out at the bell, and then chanting for Colt Cabana. The crowd got into chanting for Colt Cabana and didn't give a shit about Delirious. Delirious would start quacking at one point during the match, and Quack just stands there.
I think your bias is showing.
No, I don't get it. Why? What does Colt Cabana have to do with this six-man mayhem?
And they were there for him. They're there. It was the night of Colt, so yep.
So we're burying Delirious, who was on the rise here at this point. He buries himself.
I disagree.
I didn't get it. I did like the match though. I don't want to deviate from that. I thought they did a great job. Everybody got their opportunity to get their signature spots in. Couple highlights real quick for me. The Snapmare driver from Grand Akuma was always something that I thought looked sharp. He gets Jigsaw with it. Jigsaw would come back with a super kick. Pelly catches him with a DDT. Quackenbush hits the tombstone on Pelly, which looked amazing. Shout out to Pelly for taking it that way. That was awesome. Akuma hits a power slam on Quack. Delirious catches him with the chemical imbalance, and Quackenbush does the job. At 10 minutes, 29 seconds, Delirious wins chemical imbalance number 2. Big win, Delirious.
Good opener, good way to get the crowd hot. There were no dark matches this day, which is probably because some of us were on the show itself, and everyone else is probably a dead zombie from driving from St. Paul to Chicago overnight.
Which is a horrible drive.
Which is a horrible drive and long and boring and sucked and was one of the worst double bookings we did.
did it once when they had the snowstorm. Would have been.
Well,
Brawl.
we only went to St. Paul like 3 times. We went there for the Reborn Stage 1.
Which one was in like December or late November?
We went there for Reborn. None of them. We went there for Reborn Stage 1. We went there for the night before this, and then we went there for Epic Encounter 3 or 2 with Nigel and Brian.
When was there snow? I feel like there was a snowstorm.
There were 2 snowstorms in Chicago coming back from Fifth Year Festival that we talked about.
No. Like Minnesota to Chicago.
Those are the only 3 times I remember running St. Paul during my time frame. Maybe when they started running after in that Hopkins building or in the other ones, but these are the only 3 times I recall running in St. Paul.
I vividly remember driving from St. Paul or Minneapolis, somewhere in the Twin Cities, to Chicago in like a horrible snowstorm, and it was a 8-9 hour drive. And I had my Charger doing it, so maybe it was a rented Charger. I don't remember. But the crowd loved the Chikara guys. They chant for them to come back. A little nod to the Chikara storyline of Hallowicked and Delirious as a team. Hallowicked congratulates Delirious after the win. And I wrote, why not team them up in ROH, add a little depth, and do something different with Delirious?
Yeah, that would have been I agree. That would have been a good usage, a good way to keep Hallowicked around.
Unfortunately, that never happened, as far as I can remember.
And at least it would have been something present. It's not like it would have been digging out some old tag team or something like that. It was
right.
Using a fresh thing that was being done.
Yep.
In Chikara.
So we have the very first of the Good Times, Great Memories highlight clips. This is Night of the Butcher from December 7th, 2002. We see the very first Second City Saints driving around. The first clip is the Second City Saints driving around before Night of the Butcher. Cabana brags to Punk about beating him on the show prior. He critiques Punk's driving, which you may be able to tell us a little bit more about. Punk pulls the...
A few times I was in the car with him. He was never a bad driver in the kayfabe mobile.
Punk pulls the car over and calls Cabana selfish before walking away. I'm leaving that one alone. They had great chemistry together, and it really hurts seeing them on the same screen now, knowing what's going on. So,
I want to know with these great, whatever they're called, good times,
great
memories, all of these different segments. There's, to me, the running theme in them is almost always Cabana's on the bad end of all of these, except for like the very last one. I feel like they're all Cabana losing matches or
getting yelled at,
or none of them seem to be good Cabana moments. They're entertaining, but not necessarily good.
No, it's just not the best. So I don't know who picked out these clips, but
probably I would guess Gabe.
Maybe it was just done to amuse Gabe. Gabe was amused.
Maybe.
Or it was to show somebody leaving the territory, on their ass. I don't know. I'm kind of curious about that, though. Match number 2 on the card. Chris Daniels with Allison Danger against Eric Stevens of the Resilience.
Match number 2 on the card, but match number 1 featuring a departure.
Yes. This is Christopher Daniels' final night in Ring of Honor on this Ring of Honor.
This is his second to last night in Ring of Honor.
Yes.
Yeah. And just to go back to the Minnesota thing real quick. This was the last time we ran the St. Paul. The night before they didn't run their Minnesota again until 2013. And the only show in December was Survival of the Fittest 2015 in November.
Maybe that was it.
Everything else was like fall, summer, and fall shows. But yeah.
Even if it might have been in fall, and it wasn't like November or December.
Yeah, but there's
All
one
I know is there
show.
was like a lot of snow and a lot of ice, and
They're all in
Screaming.
Hopkins, Minnesota, as well.
Albright screaming in the car about how people were driving. It's just bad.
Nothing to do with Minnesota then during that time frame because there were not.
Well, it was during the Albright time frame, so we were coming from somewhere going to Chicago with bad snow. I don't know. It
wasn't Minnesota. We're gonna go with it was not Minnesota.
Yeah, it's one of those memories lost to time, and lack of sobriety. This is a 15-minute draw for some reason. Did TNA say no job for Chris Daniels?
Well, this is the first of the departures because of us going on pay-per-view. So Chris Daniels cannot wrestle on pay-per-view for Ring of Honor, and so I guess this was a good night to write him out. As far as not to know, I'm not gonna say I don't know. The only time I only ever remember one distinct time of that it was a clear TNA edict of not beating somebody, and that's why we had to do the draw with Machine Guns and the Briscoes, or the Kings and the Machine Guns. I mean, in New York.
Yep.
But I mean, I don't know. It's a draw. It's not a bad thing. I actually think they should happen. I actually think they should happen in wrestling more often.
I don't mind them when they benefit somebody here, but here you have Eric Stevens. He's now a big part of Faction Warfare. He's the heavy hitter in the Resilience, and he's only a year into the company. Chris Daniels, obviously a founding father. I would have had Eric squash him in 30 seconds. Hit the choo-choo, maybe a doctor bomb, and the end. And really send Daniels out with a message that Eric Stevens is a legitimate part. Because, as we talked about in the video wire, the crowd kind of booed, it sounded like, Stevens joining the Resilience.
Yeah, it's what I heard in there, too. I mean, that would have been impressive and unexpected. I mean, maybe Gabe just wanted to keep Allison Danger, the night nurse, on screen longer.
Probably.
This, by the way, as I've said many times about when you stand with your back to hard camera, this match is an example of times when you're supposed to stand with your back to hard camera as a manager. That would have been an interesting way to do it and see what happens. On the other hand, it's a lot of money to pay somebody to get squashed in 15 seconds.
Plus a plane ticket. And I don't. Was
Bill
Danger
Barron's
in
percentage?
Yeah, Bill Barron's percentage. Was Danger a plane ticket too at this point? Was she out in Vegas yet?
I don't think so.
Didn't seem like. I think she was.
No, she was not. I don't think so. I think
done.
I think she would have probably driven with somebody from Pennsylvania. Yeah, would be my guess. I don't know. This didn't hold the crowd.
Mm-mm.
I mean, they came up at the end, at the end, but I feel like during the meat of the match, it didn't seem to hold the crowd.
I remember
there's not any big highlights out of the match.
It was a very solid technical match.
Yeah, there's nothing. And it's the thing, like we said, there's not a bad Christopher Daniels match, but this is an uninteresting one.
Mm-hmm.
And
it wasn't anybody's fault.
No, I don't think it did the purpose. I think the whole point of going to the draw was to look, Eric can go. Daniels can't beat Eric. He can go the distance with him.
He's resilient.
That's the story. He's resilient. There we go. He can go the distance with the ROH legend, and
I think when Bobby Cruz announced that there was 1 minute left, the entire crowd just died. But then, see, that would have been a great opportunity too. Even if you're going to have it go this long, Stevens hits the power slam with 30 seconds, didn't even go for a pin.
Yeah.
Daniels blocks the doctor bomb. The time limit expires, 15 minutes. There's your draw. I thought Eric was awesome here. I really, really would have preferred they go very short and a big squash for Eric Stevens.
I think hindsight and all that would have been a more effective way to establish Eric, but a giant waste of paying Christopher Daniels.
That's where you play, move.
That's where there's
move your puzzle pieces around.
That's where there's the business card aspect of it as well. To me, you kind of got to eat your money's worth out of people as well when they're the higher priced talent on the roster. But it's cool. I mean, Daniels then could have just done his inexplicable promo that makes no sense and requires him invoking the 3 dirtiest letters in Ring of Honor to get some heel heat.
Yeah.
Because nobody... So the setup for this entire promo of when me and Seidel were champion and you just looked at me like, no, that actually doesn't hold water. None of what he says holds water to me as a means to heal in the crowd because they're cheering him the entire time. They're on Daniel's side the entire time. So like talking about the crowd forsaking him and blah blah blah. I was like, nah, this doesn't actually. This is one of those moments. This is a Shawn Michaels cutting a babyface promo in Montreal moment, which that's a very dated reference nowadays. But I'll never forget. I always had this memory of Shawn Michaels cutting an extremely babyface promo in Montreal as the entire crowd is healing the shit out of him because he's doing it for the TV audience, not for the people in Montreal. And this was an example of you're cutting a heel promo on crowd that is cheering you because that's what you have to do to get to your exit. So invoke the unholy letters of TNA, which to actually turn the fans on you.
Now it doesn't even get a reaction.
Yeah.
As opposed to back in 2007 where it got a huge heel reaction.
Yeah.
Which kind of surprised me. Gabe never went with a TNA faction as heels. Could have been
called them something else. Sports Entertainment Extreme.
Yeah, sure. Eric Stevens would ask for 5 more minutes. Daniels refuses on the grounds that he'd rather use those 5 minutes to tell Eric Stevens to get out of the ring, and he wants to talk to the fans. Daniels talks about the 2 years in ROH, says he should have never come back. Of course, he talks about TNA, and it just goes on from there. He blames ROH fans for using up the wrestlers, saying they've forgotten about Joe and Punk and they'll forget about Colt Cabana in a week. And then he says, quote, 3 years ago, I chose TNA over ROH and I'm doing the same now.
And then shoves Allison Danger on her ass.
Yep. Because we haven't had a show with man-on-women violence in many a year.
Yeah, possibly. So, yeah, it was what it was. It was to get Chris out of there so he could come back again in 3 years.
Yep. And then leave in like 6 months and then come back again and then leave and then come back and then leave and then come back and then leave.
Yeah.
Presently, he's in a leaving stage or a left stage. So we'll see when that what changes. Yep. Good Times, Great Memories, number 2, Reborn, Stage 2, April 24th, 2004. Cabana is in the ring. Punk is trying to cut a serious promo after winning the tag team titles. Cabana blows a noisemaker in his face and starts the title win celebration party. Cabana flirts with Becky Bayless as Punk is moping. This was hilarious.
Yeah, my life's a war. It was good stuff. Yeah.
It was one of Punk's best promos ever. And Cabana blows the noisemaker just at the right time. And I don't know how Punk didn't burst out laughing.
I know. Yeah. And it's good because this is being recorded. I just remember this was like, I think fans are still in the building. This was just, if you ever been to Chicago Ridge building, this was filmed right behind the curtain. Like before you walk into the locker room, they had the little curtain off area. It was filmed right there. So yeah, it was fun.
Just a great moment. But also, looking back on it, we're talking about something that happened 15 years ago today as we're taping this April 24th.
Yeah.
Crazy. 15 years. God, it's nuts. We get a four-corner survival up next with more exiting people.
Match
We've
number
got-
2, and we're two in a row. This one would be Homicides.
Final match for now.
First final Ring of Honor match.
As he takes on Brent Albright, BJ Whitmer, and Jimmy Rave.
And Homicide gets absolutely no fanfare, by the way, for this being his last match.
I don't know if people realized that it would be his final ROH match. I don't think I put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
Because he didn't say anything to me that night.
Yeah.
I saw him at Rosa's afterwards. By the way, I think I got home at like 12:30 on Sunday driving. I think there were maybe some road naps on the way home.
Fun stuff.
Yeah. But this was an interesting four-way because you have 2 of the bigger, stronger power guys in Whitmer and Albright. And you have Homicide, who's just a brawler. And then you have dickhead heel Jimmy Rave. And so you get a little bit of everything in this four-way. I love this match.
Yeah,
to me, it's my favorite match on the show.
Okay. I mean, it was
Besides the
solid.
tag match.
It was solid. I enjoyed it.
Immediately, Homicide is showcased. Albright would tag him in. Homicide hits the head scissors takedown, the 3 amigos suplexes. Whitmer counters a takedown and a facebuster. Rave tags him out. Rave hits the spear and a facebuster on Homicide for 2. Homicide goes right back to to working on Rave. Knee drop off the second rope, and he tags Albright in. So it seems like Homicide and Albright are working together here.
But they automatically, the thing with four corner survivals and them being first pinfall, it lends itself to no one should ever make a tag out. If you get all the tags should be forced tags. Because why would you tag somebody else in?
It makes no sense.
It's like it's an inherent logic flaw in a one fall to a finish four corner survival.
Yeah, and I mean I always was of the opinion that I know having guys do jobs kind of devalues them, but elimination matches, I feel like all multi-person matches should not be first fall gets the win.
Mm-hmm. Or if they are, just don't be tagging out.
Yeah.
Force tags. And there were a few of those in here for the force tags and whatnot. But I felt like the story of this was BJ. The entire match BJ was the story of this match.
Yeah, I mean, really Albright and Whitmer. You're setting the two of them up to be higher up on the card with everybody leaving. Rave is clearly a guy that is a top level guy already as a heel, and Albright and Whitmer are kind of looking for their footing. BJ is coming off the cage match with Jimmy.
And that's what I mean, where the story being BJ, he's coming off the cage match with Jimmy, but he's a loser. He lost the night before. He takes the fall in this. I have to double check and see what the shows before this, if he was even on them. I think he actually might have been off to kind of
was off
recover. So he comes back after the cage match, and he loses the first 2 matches he has back as he starts heading towards what would eventually be the Hangman 3 stuff. So I feel like the story was BJ in that it's almost similar to the way like Cabana came out of the Homicide feud. He won, but not really.
He lost by winning.
Yeah.
This would also only go about 10 minutes. 10 minutes, 13 seconds specifically. Whitmer would roll up Homicide for a 2 count. He would hit a German suplex and a dragon suplex, which looked awesome. He holds on and hits a powerbomb for 2 when Brent Albright hits him with the half Nelson German suplex and picks up the win. 10 minutes, 13 seconds. The crowd was awesome here.
They kept it going. They kept it moving. They, don't have any of those old four-way submission spots we used to get from some of the older Four Corner Survivals, and they kept a good pace and kept everybody involved and kept the action moving.
I think one thing from this match that stood out to me, the Whitmer and Jimmy Rave interactions, I really enjoyed, and it kind of left me wanting more.
Yeah.
So that was just one other highlight I had. We have Good Times, Great Memories, number 3, from the 3rd Anniversary Celebration, Part 1, February 19th, 2005. This is the cage match with Austin Aries, and we see the moonsault press off the top rope in the cage. That's the highlight.
Yeah. Well, because he lost the match, so it's not...
Another Cabana title loss.
Yeah, well, he's still got a better record. He's still got a better record than Roddy.
Yeah, well, that's true. So we go from that to a Briscoes promo, and this is a very much different Briscoes promo than we saw recently in 2019. It's like they're 4 different people.
Well, and this promo's not about 70-year-old men that they have to wrestle.
Or Tongans.
Or, yeah.
The Briscoes have a message for Shelley and Sabin. The fact that the Machine Guns were the 0-1 tag champs means nothing because they also have held belts in Japan and in ROH. And they jumped Jay after a match when Mark was hurt, proving that they are cowards. And the Briscoes are ready to exact their revenge in Chicago. Boy, have these guys gotten different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. It's
it's a whole new. This doesn't even feel like Mark and Jay Briscoe.
No, not when you look at the 2019 versions.
So we go from that Briscoes promo to a really fun singles match.
3 in a row from the Departing Crew.
Yes. And this one being Austin Aries, head of the Resilience.
Yeah, that sucked. I'm sure as Booker that sucked. Like, you just started this faction warfare and you just lost one of your heads.
This was just the worst timing. That faction was doomed from the beginning.
Oh, yeah, it was completely cursed.
And I think, I'll say this. I think the Vulture Squad was the biggest failure of all the factions in faction warfare. But the Resilience was the one that got cursed the most. I just think Aries mix with Matt Cross and Eric Stevens didn't have any chemistry. It felt forced. But Aries goes out with a hell of a match here.
Yeah. Yes, he does.
Rocky Romero seems to have the greatest of performances in Chicago in his Ring of Honor tenure. This match is no different. I think Rocky is super underrated.
Agreed. I was excited to see that he was doing the Best of the Super Juniors this year for the first time in several years. I'm excited for that. There's a whole litany of guys I want to see him wrestle. And even to this day, even the guys that aren't in Super Juniors, there's people I want to see Rocky Romero wrestle. He's got this bombastic personality that is not only present inside the ring, it's present outside the ring. Yes.
Any good Rocky Romero stories that you have?
It's not, like, nothing specific. It's just like little instances of not seeing him for a long time, and then when he came back into around with Kozlov as the Forever Hooligans, and just Hagedorn, and big hug, and just, you know, it's that personality and just exciting and happy, and just it's good, like, a good vibe to him, and just a pleasure to be around. And
he's a professional. He takes his craft seriously, but at the same time, he knows how to let loose.
Yeah.
My favorite Rocky Romero story is, I want to say it was in Chicago, actually. He and Reyes had a tag match, and we went out to Rosa's after the show. It was myself and Greg H. and Tree, I think, was around, Bobo, Vander, a whole litany of people. And Reyes was drinking, and Rocky was poking him to continue drinking. And Rocky got Ricky to go up and do karaoke. And a drunk Rick Noon was up doing karaoke, doing a Britney Spears song.
That's awesome.
I don't know the name of the song. It's the One More Time or something like that.
Yeah. That's the song. Yeah.
Is that the name of the song?
Hit me, baby, one more time.
That's the one. That's the one. But Ricky can't get the words out, so eventually the song just becomes one giant, like, him laughing and then reading the words off the monitor and then laughing some more and then Rocky throwing ice at him. And yeah, it was a circus, and just a lot of laughter with Rocky. A lot of laughter, a lot of funny times. He's a great guy, and I think the world of him as a wrestler.
Same.
And this match is the perfect opponent. Aries and Reyes, or Aries and Romero, had incredible chemistry. It just seemed like one move after the other, this back and forth action, they mixed well together. It was almost that, like, we always talk about the Ring of Honor style.
Yeah.
That's what this is. Like, if you had to throw out Ring of Honor style, quote unquote, which, you know, seems like an easy bomb to step on, it's this match, because you get back and forth wrestling, you get great selling from Aries, you get, you know, a little bit of crowd interaction from Rocky, you get some high flying, you get the amazing heat seeking missile from Aries, just everything you want in a wrestling match, for me at least.
It was, I just, top to bottom, from, you know, bell to bell, I very much enjoyed this match. Thought it was solid. It's two of the best guys that were on the roster at the time, and this was the only part of the faction warfare, the Resilience and the No Remorse Corps, or at least should I say Aries and the No Remorse Corps, and, well, now, I mean, it's the Resilience and No Remorse Corps, really, was the only part of this faction warfare that had anything to it, any meat, because of the Roddy and Aries dynamic, and then the Eric and Roddy dynamic. So that added to the match as well.
I really enjoyed the way this thing played out. I think Romero coming back with a big kick to the chest. He gets the Diablo armbar at one point. Aries counters that into a pin. But the finish, 12 minutes, 28 seconds, the perfect amount of time for this match, too. You know, I think 15 minutes might have been too long, and they may have kind of run out of cool counters and things to do, but Romero comes back, kicks to the chest, Tiger suplex. Wonder where he got that from. Hits another kick to the head. Aries comes back with a roll-up for 2. He hits his flurry and gets the win. My lone issue with the match, Aries going over. Rocky staying, Aries leaving.
Yeah, that's where I'm in my brain trying to remember who we knew was done and who we wasn't sure.
That's interesting to me. Kind of detail that out, I guess.
I don't.
Who were contenders to stay and who were contenders to go?
Well, there was. I think. I just don't remember. If we knew that already that all these people were done, besides Cabana, obviously, and Shingo. But as far as like the TNA guys, I do not remember at what point we knew that they were going to be. If they couldn't be with us at all, if they just couldn't be on pay-per-view and the pay-per-view matches, because it's something that has been done in the past. We did it with Joe, a year or so down the line. We just put him in a non-pay-per-view match, and it's not
bonus material.
It's not uncommon. So I don't recall if we knew yet what we were able to do with these guys, or if they were in fact 100% done. Like TNA, I don't know whether let or obviously the Homicide was able to come back and give his farewell at Respect Is Earned off camera, as long as it wasn't on the pay-per-view.
I don't even think it was on the DVD either.
I don't remember. I don't recall. I think it might have been, but as I say, I just that time frame, trying to remember within that span. Like, I'm sure we had to have known because we taped the pay-per-view a week later after this. 2 weeks later.
Yeah, and I mean, curiously enough, like Daniels quits, and so there's clearly, he's done.
Yeah.
Even if you're just putting him on pause for a while. But with Aries going over here, I don't know. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Everything else was awesome. Mm-hmm. Aries sold his ass off in this match. Tremendous. Just tremendous. After the match, Strong would come out. He puts the boots to Austin Aries, and Delirious comes out, makes the save.
Appearance number 2 on the show for Delirious. Well, we're not done yet either.
No. He's armed with a chair, so he means business. Little did we know he'd be armed with a pencil years later. Good Times, Great Memories, number 4, up next. Night of the Grudges 2, August 20th, 2005. This is from the Soccer Riot match, which I thought was an absolute blast against Nigel McGuinness. The kind of inside joke to the match was that Nigel had cheated all over the place in their European rounds match. So Cabana just made up the rules as the match went along here, which I thought was genius. I don't know who came up with that, but highly, highly enjoyable, especially after a big absence from Cabana before the Soccer Riot match.
And also our first show post-punk era.
Yeah. Because Cabana went to Europe for...
I don't remember.
A while. Was
that was before? That was before this. Because he was back. Because this, it was that time frame the week before. With obviously, I don't know. Before this is only a week, 2 week. That match was 2 weeks removed from Punk's last show. So.
Yep. 13 days. 13 days after it. So we go to match number 5, featuring. Guess what, folks?
Number 4 of somebody departing the show.
Yes, another
5 matches. Leaving. 5 matches, 4 departures.
Ring of Honor World Title match. The very first time in the history that I am aware of wrestling that a Pro Wrestling Noah star is going to be wrestling a Dragon Gate wrestler.
No idea if it was the first time ever, but you can definitely say it was the first time that a Noah that the Ring of Honor World Title was defended by a professional Pro Wrestling Noah member against a Dragon Gate member in a Ring of Honor ring in Chicago Ridge, Illinois, in 2007 at 9:58 p.m. Eastern time, Central time. Central time. Yeah.
Yeah, this was a big deal.
It is a big deal. It is and was that this was happening. And it produced an awesome match.
From a political side of things, was there ever any issues with the obvious end result to this match?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think maybe this might have been one of the weeks that Dragon Gate and Noah were getting along.
One of the hour and a half periods.
Yeah, kind of like what I say about the tag team match coming up. Like, oh, TNA must have been in a good mood that day. No, but it's just the fact that we were able to do it was pretty awesome.
With this match in particular, so we've got Ring of Honor World Champion Takeshi Morishima taking on Shingo. Shingo has been in the States for a year, roughly, since Detroit WrestleMania weekend, I believe, was his debut. Or was he in before that?
Before that.
In a tag.
Yeah.
In Buffalo, I believe.
Well, his very first time was in Buffalo, the match against AJ from Dragon Gate Invasion in August of...
No, Sema and AJ.
Sema and AJ? What was Shingo? Shingo and...
Daniels, maybe?
Curryman?
Oh, could have been Curryman.
I'm forgetting off, yeah. But that was his first, was that Dragon Gate Invasion show. His first time for us. But as a continuous member of the roster, I'm drawing a blank.
I thought he came in for that WrestleMania weekend and stayed for the year.
That WrestleMania weekend in Detroit was 2 weeks before this, so it was.
Oh.
Detroit WrestleMania weekend was 2000.
Chicago WrestleMania weekend.
Okay.
With
Perhaps.
Detroit on Thursday. So I knew I was somewhere in the Detroit vicinity, but we've got this incredible combination of size and strength from Morishima going up against incredible strength from Shingo. And it made for an amazing match.
And they just beat the piss out of each other.
I feel like some of these shots were just done to be like, okay, your political philosophy and your wrestling promotion is against mine. It was two warring mafias. Surprised nobody, blew up one of the other's houses or something like that.
It was basically from October of 2006 is when he was on like every show.
Okay.
So,
he was based out of Texas, if I remember right.
and that's where that Dragon Gate had their U.S. office.
That's okay. In Houston, I think.
Sure.
I don't know. I want to say it was Houston or San Antonio. One of the two. But either way, this match is a lot of fun. We've got Morishima basically playing the bully here as Shingo continually fights up. The crowd is so into this. It was so refreshing to watch back because the crowd does not slow down for any of this whole show. And that kind of speaks to the overall picture of what Ring of Honor was like in 2007, was that, and to a lesser extent 2006, shows that may not have aged well are still aged because the crowd is so into things.
And just like the moments, like the we'll just call them for shorthand necessity, the fighting spirit spots in this match. The crowd goes banana for. I'm going banana for some of Shingo's selling in this match to Morishima strikes, and just appreciating how good, like even at a young age, she got to figure at this point Shingo's still a baby. It's 12 years later, and now he's at LIJ, and but he was a baby at this point, in terms of how long he'd been wrestling. 2 or 3 years at this point, I think, and he's just he's not a monster yet, but man, he's a powerhouse. And to him, some of the when he does the last falconry on Morishima towards the end of the match, it's just like he's a beast.
There were times where Morishima would go up against like an Eric Stevens or BJ or Albright, Claudio, and you're amazed at the athletic ability and the strength of somebody Morishima's size and what he could do with people. But with Shingo is doing that stuff to Morishima.
Yeah.
it was a fascinating example of just a lot of the perfect storm in this match. Obviously, the Dragon Gate style we know is fast, where Noah is more feel it out, slow, hit hard, strike when the time is right.
But I guess in some ways I can, going back to the opening match with the Chikara crew, there's those people who don't necessarily fit what you always think of the style as. Mochizuki doesn't fit what you think of as the Dragon Gate style. Shingo doesn't necessarily fit of what you think of as the Dragon Gate style.
And you're seeing it as he transitions into New Japan, where he's firmly entrenched in the junior heavyweight division as part of Los Ingobernables.
Yeah.
De Japón.
But yeah, he might be of Dragon Gate, but he is very much not what you would stereotype the idea of Dragon Gate as being.
So one of the highlights of this match to me, that always, even looking back when I rewatched it, I remember it happening, is Shingo hitting a backdrop driver.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that's Morishima's finish. Morishima kicks out at 2, but I just remember the holy shit feeling when that happened, because for a moment, just that slight moment, and this is what you want in every single title match, you want that feeling of, ooh, the title's going to change.
Yeah. Yep. And
going into this, we all knew that the odds of the title changing hands were slim to none, but you want that moment. Or going into a title match where you know the title is changing hands, like just saw the G1. That backdrop driver, that just a smidgen of time where you're like, oh man, Shingo's going to be the champion. No.
Me watching this match back and seeing how quick Morishima was for a guy his size, how fast he could move when he wanted to. You kind of forget him being such a big dude. That there were those moments where he the one that particularly stood out to me is when he does the ass smash to Shingo on the outside, and kind of his version of the ole. It's the butt ole to Shingo on the outside, and he gets some steam built up before he crashes his big old ass into Shingo's face. And it just made me think of obviously I didn't spend a lot of time with Shingo, driving trucks and all that fun stuff that I was doing in 2007. But the times around him, and I've said language barrier as well, but just remember the good positive personality. And I think the night before this in St. Paul, which was actually I think also the night that I learned what Busaku meant in the Busaku ni from Jack Evans told me, make ugly.
Oh,
that's how Jack Evans said it to me. The Busaku in Busaku ni means make ugly. And I think Shingo was involved in that conversation as well. And just kind of saying a goodbye to him. Because I guess I should say that this wasn't his last match in Ring of Honor. But this was the last night of him being, we'll just say this was his last night in the territory. He had other matches in the coming year when we went to Japan, and he came back for that last round of Dragon Gate 6-mans we did the next year in Florida. But this was his last night in the territory. So I think the night before in St. Paul was kind of when I said goodbye to him. But yeah, I just, we always had the language barrier issues. But, Shingo was always always amicable, affable, nice guy. So when I think falling out of touch with anything Dragon Gate over the years, when I started seeing the hints that he was going to be the one, the mystery guy in Los Ingobernables, I was super excited for that.
And it really is cool to see him because he looks exactly the same, he moves exactly the same, but he's got this kind of edge to him now.
And I just think that comes with a 15, years of experience under his belt.
Yep.
From here.
he's this like he's almost stuck in between being a junior and being a heavyweight in New Japan, and that's I think a bad spot to be in. But at the same time, I want to see him in Okada, and I know that if that's the match, New Japan is going to start taking him very seriously.
Yeah, I think that would be a great. I'd love to see him in Naito. And then the other side of things, this made me sad for Morishima.
Yeah,
because it made me reflect on how awesome he was to watch, and now the very sad path that his life is going down. Now with the rumors of him making a return, and then that just all falling to shit, and kind of, you can look it up. The stories they're all out there as far as like what's happened with Morishima over the years, but it's sad, and
it's kind of a reflective tale on wrestling. It's even in Japan where it seems like these guys are not, these drug addicts and alcoholics. They're people at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And no matter how much larger than life we treat them when they come to the States, at the end of the day, they go home, they have lives too that could easily have disruptions and negativity. And unfortunately with Morishima, he was one of those guys, one of those sad cases. And to me, he was everything I love about wrestling. Just hit hard, looked unique, had
Japanese Terry Gordy is kind of how a lot of people I know always referred to him.
Yeah, I mean, he just did everything. He moved so well for somebody at that size, and this match is a prime example of Morishima, superstar.
This is to me the hidden gem of the show, of this specific show. It's a hidden gem in the larger ROH catalog too, but of this specific show, I think this is a match that you wouldn't necessarily, like, you would look at the lineup and to think, oh, that's cool, but to actually watch it, I think this is one of the ones that I would seek out this DVD for. I don't even know if they still make it, but I think we might have put it on the Japan's Finest DVD as well that Ross Abrams and I put together.
Yeah, this is one that I think every Ring of Honor fan should see.
Plus just the historic fact of the Dragon Gate wrestler versus the no wrestler for the Ring of Honor world title is a pretty awesome idea that happened.
So, they go 15 minutes and 22 seconds. It's just a great strong style match, a perfect match for Shingo to go out on. But I love the kind of finish sequence.
Yeah.
You've got Morishima getting clotheslined. He comes back with a counter strike of his own. He hits a Uranagi suplex, another lariat, which Morishima relied heavily on. Shingo counters the backdrop driver with a crossbody for 2. Morishima blocks a powerbomb and sits on Shingo's chest. I'm hurting thinking about that. He hits a lariat. That gets another 2 count. And then finally the backdrop driver strikes, and we get the win for Morishima, retaining his title 15 minutes, 22 seconds. What a hell of a match.
Yep. Definitely. Yep.
Good times, great memories, number 5.
Speaking of Dragon Gate.
Dragon Gate Invasion, August 27th, 2005. I have no clue why this was chosen.
Cabana world title match.
Yeah, well, you could have substituted 8,525 other one of those with the same result. Odd choice here, but it's the world title match against James Gibson. And
well, you get a Danielson spot and another one of these, so
yeah, I would have preferred something with Danielson, Joe.
You get a Danielson's memories, Danielson reflection spot down the line. So another one of these. Need to have 2 Danielsons.
I guess. I don't know. I just thought this was kind of an odd choice, but we see highlights of the match, and then we head to intermission. Intermission today is brought to you by patreon.com/an honorable pod. the home of the HDNet exclusive series where we look back at every single solitary episode of HDNet. As low as $4 a month, you can join us. Patreon.com/honorablepod. Rebecca Bayless, Shane's favorite.
Rebecca Bayless.
She is backstage with the Motor City Machine Guns, who are never curiously referred to as the Motor City Machine Guns on this very show. Or the Murder City Machine Guns. No.
I wonder if we just left that alone for fear of you'd have to look at your DVD cover and see what it says on the DVD cover.
Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley.
Yeah, so I think we just left it alone. I don't know if we were told not to, if we just decided not to fuck with that at all.
Because there was always that odd, curiosity of, is it the Murder City Machine Guns or the Motor City Machine Guns?
Oh, I think it was both, but for family-friendly TV purposes, it was Motor.
And I thought that sounded better.
I mean, yeah, it doesn't make Detroit sound quite so awful.
Yeah.
I also always appreciated this being another Michigander.
Yes. Ohio is the heart of it all, but Michigan has a cool hand sign that they can do.
Yeah. Unless you're from the UP, then it's... Yeah. There's your visuals for the people listening to this on your podcast apps. So
yeah. On Spreaker.
You get it if you know Michigan.
But Rebecca is with the Machine Guns, and Sabin is confident that his team will pick up the win, not because they're employed by TNA, and that was an edict sent down from TNA. He says it's North versus South, which is odd because TNA is in the South. That
line gave me uncomfortable flashbacks to a certain show we have watched in the archives with a certain announcer who shall remain unnamed, trying to turn Low-Key and AJ Styles into a battle of the North versus the South. Also, the devil versus God. Why? It's not the North versus the South. Delaware's not even the fucking South.
A night of appreciation available in the archives. But yeah, this promo made no sense other than, hilariously enough, Shelley says he hates rednecks, and tonight he's going to put both of them in the hospital. I thought that was kind of an amusing thing, but that's the lone redeeming quality of this.
Delaware was in the Union, not the Confederacy. It blows my mind.
Slower Delaware, man. What can you say? What a bizarre promo. I can only imagine Gabe just being like, all right, well.
It's literally just stick a camera in their face, let them talk, and next. I don't pay attention to content of what you're saying.
Yeah.
But that's what it feels like sometimes.
But on one hand, when you see like a WWE promo where everything is so overproduced, this is underproduced, and I kind of appreciate that fact.
Yeah.
Guys got to explore their own creativity, good or bad. But our first match out from intermission, easy for me to say, is blonde. Alex Payne and his blonde, yes.
Fucking blonde!
We've got Alex Payne and Bobby Dempsey going one-on-one. But before we get a match, Tank Toland comes to ringside, and he calls himself...
Did you know that the Payne family is second cousins of the Dempsey family?
I could believe that.
Yeah.
They look very similar. I could even have bought first cousins. On the mom's side.
You don't make out with your first cousins.
Unless you're Linda Smuckler. But that's an inside joke. We'll leave that one alone. In the write-up for this match, Tank Toland comes out. He refers to himself as all natural. And I copied and pasted the following. This is from Brad Garoon over at 411 Mania. Quote
411? 411.
Well, 411.
As in, what's the 411? You remember when you used to have these the push-button dial phones, and it was 411 was information?
You're old.
That's why it's 411.
We tried
Do you say 911 for when
yes.
you talk about the emergency line?
Yes.
911.
I mean,
Why don't you say 91-1?
That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, because
There's no dash in the middle.
1.
Okay, so
9
411 Wrestling.
Thing.
Brad Garoon, who I used to trade tapes with, wrote.
We did too.
He's a Michigan guy. So I get a lot of my notes and stuff from his reviews over on the 411 Wrestling website. He refers to Alex Payne and says that he looks like a prepubescent girl. And, quote, Dempsey is so fat he probably wants to eat him.
That's not nice.
Not nice at all, Brad. Very mean, bro.
I mean, even though you're right about Alex Payne. Yeah. I don't know if I'd started at this point, but it's at some point I began harassing him serially about cutting that hair.
Okay, so I was going to ask about it. Because it was in the group chat. So
no, I would harass him constantly about cutting the hair, and he didn't listen to me until Noah, till his pro wrestling Noah time in the dojo. Then he finally listened to me. What a difference it made.
The sarcasm is dripping.
No, seriously, what a difference it made in presentation and not have this giant hair.
You could have pulled it back and up like me.
Yeah. No. Nope.
I didn't have those curls, though.
Yeah.
I'm a little jealous of that.
Yeah. As for Bob, yep. Bob was heavy. That was, yep. He would say the same thing. And
yep.
this
and
was.
now he's not.
And now he's not.
But this was kind of an interesting, like. On one hand, you're burying your school with Tank Toland coming out and referring to himself as being all natural, and then just ripping the fact that all wrestlers should look like athletes and neither guy looks like an athlete. You're burying the school, but at the same time, this was the biggest break in Bobby Dempsey's career.
And this made Bobby. This was the beginning of the thing that made Bobby's tenure in Ring of Honor. This was what led down the road to the sweet and sour and the abuse with Hero and Sweeney going under the ring. This led to all of that. Unfortunately, it was a god awful fucking beginning. And Bobby, I love you to death if you're listening to this, but this was terrible on your part. You expressionless and emotionless as you're being verbally dissected.
By a very mean short man.
Yes, who was so not mean and was super nice and awesome and is like Chris's neighbor or something like that now.
Really?
And I think they're in close proximity to each other.
We haven't gotten Tank to come join us?
But it was just Tank was all fire and anger, and Bobby just didn't really have much of an expression on his face the entire time as he's being destroyed. And it just was like, come
at
on.
The end of the day,
give me something.
Tank wants to help Bobby.
Yes.
He wants to take him under his wing with his weight loss project that he's working on. And he says he's going to make Bobby Dempsey look just like him. So that would apparently mean like Bobby would be able to grow a beard.
Yeah,
and shave it in odd shapes along his cheeks.
I'm always impressed by that.
It takes a lot of patience and a lot of talent. I've tried that.
Especially if you do it yourself, or you can just, be lazy like Ernie and have somebody do it for you.
Yeah, next time I see Ernie, I'm going to have him chop up my beard nice and professional.
Yeah, there you go. You should Jeff Hardy your beard.
I don't know about that, but maybe something else. Shape, put like Duke in the side of my beard or something like that. During basketball
Duke
season.
of Dorchester in your beard?
No, that was last week. He's gone now.
Yeah. All right.
So we get Bobby kicked out of the match, and we get Alex Payne versus Tank Toland. And to show this was done to show Bobby why he needs to follow Tank Toland's regimen. He's going to beat Alex Payne. They go 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Toland is just tossing Alex around. Elbow drop. He tells Dempsey, he's like talking to Bobby Dempsey the entire time to work on his grip strength. Alex gets a little mini comeback. with a leg lariat and a clothesline. Tolan comes back with a one-handed spine buster. That's all.
Now, here's the thing. It's not just an elbow drop. He's doing jumping jacks on Alex's chest. It was amazing. I popped for it. I loved this. Tank was awesome in Ring of Honor. Didn't get enough love. Fuck anyone else who would be negative about taking Tolan in Ring of Honor. It was great.
Were people negative about him? I thought it was
know.
like an essential part of the Sweet and Sour ensemble.
If anybody was negative about it, like, boo you, because it was highly entertaining, very fun. You know, it wasn't serious wrestling on serious earth. It was nice and enjoyable, and I enjoyed this for all the 2 minutes that it lasted of watching Alex get ragdolled around.
Mm-hmm. And Alex did a great job letting himself be ragdolled around.
Yeah.
Making Tank look impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I think, as somebody that watched a lot of Ohio Valley wrestling, you didn't really ever get to see Tank look like, this big bruiser, even though he's really not. He's built like Taz.
Well, no.
Sorry,
I was
Taz.
going to say, like, he's not, because he add a few inches onto Tank, and it's like, I swear it'd probably be a different story.
He'd be the main event at WrestleMania.
Yeah, but he was shorter, but as wide as he is short.
Yep. He was a couple inches shorter than me.
Yeah. And so I think, and he was putting a fucking tag team called the Dicks, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, I mean, but their teamwork in OVW was really good.
Yeah.
And consistently good, no matter who they were working against. But
they also weren't called the Dicks in OVW.
No, they were not.
Gemini, right? Is that what it was?
No. The Gemini was the Shane twins.
The Shane twins. Oh, okay. The
Tolan,
Johnsons, or whatever they were.
The Johnsons. Yes. Tank Tolan's tag team in OVW. It was oh god. What were they called? It was James and Chad were the Dicks.
I'm forgetting. I went through a time frame where I watched a lot of OVW.
I can't think of what their team name was called.
During the Heyman era of OVW, I watched a lot of OVW because we were selling the VHS tapes at the time and
watching Punk.
Watching Punk and some of the stuff before Punk, including one of my favorite all-time promos. I can't
Blonde
remember.
Bombers. I had it on the tip of my tongue.
I couldn't remember the person's name, but I always think about this every once in a while. It pops into my head of somebody just saying, "You runned it! My big debut in OVW, and you runned it!" And I, for the life of me, cannot remember who said that at all, but just those words are always stuck in my head and just...
Sounds like...
It's like the scene in Inside Out where memory decides to send that up to headquarters every once in a while, and I just hear in my brain, "You runned it! My big debut in OVW, and you runned it!"
Sounds like one of the older, like Dinsmore or one of those type of peoples. But in that 2005 era
That's what it was.
of OVW, I don't know. He was established long before that. But Bobby Dempsey does admit that he is going to be the Tank Tolan protege.
I think the hand grips, by the way, those were mine because it was just a case of, does anybody have anything lying around we can use for Bobby? And I had a pair of those in my gear bag for literally those moments when you're bored and just sitting there like.
Does it actually work?
Grip strength, yeah.
Maybe I'll use that and get one of those for my finger. Get my strength back up in my hand.
Masturbate more.
No, I'm good. I got a tag team effort there. Anyways, Good Times, Great Memories number 5, 4th anniversary show, February 25th, 2006. And this is the fallout from the I Quit match with Homicide. A bloody Cabana gets on the microphone and tells Homicide he wants more. He calls for the match to be restarted, and we get more brawling action.
At least I didn't use the Drano spot for this one.
Thank God.
Blah.
So, up next, we get Roderick and Jack Evans. And Roderick Strong, that is, and Jack Evans. And they had a couple of matches in FIP prior to this one. that were amazing. Absolutely amazing. And then they had this one.
That's good.
It was nowhere near the level of what was in FIP.
Okay,
And
I actually have
think,
never seen the FIP matches, I don't believe.
I think it's
I probably owned the DVDs but never watched the matches.
this is the first time that I can recall seeing something in ROH that has happened somewhere else and thinking this is lesser than.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was. Those FIP shows had, 70, 80 people, maybe.
At this point, it's a big draw.
Yeah, I mean, it was nobody. And I mean, I've only seen them because they were on the High Spots network. But their one-on-one matches in FIP were awesome, and this was good, but it felt more like the beginning to a story than
Well, it
the
really
end.
was the beginning. Just the beginning of a story that never went anywhere.
I'll give you a great comparison for those two FIP matches. PWG. They just did 1,000 different things and combinations and flips and got, you would see things you've never seen before in both those matches. And then they did this where it was just kind of a repeat of some of the same stuff. Maybe that's why I felt it was lesser than, because I had seen some of these spots before. They were such a great tag team. Putting them against each other also didn't help, I don't think.
I had sum this matchup as in two things. Two words for each person. Roddy hit, Jack flip.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. This just there's not a lot to hold on to here. I think the crowd was here for it.
Yeah, they were.
But there's been so much good stuff that there's like a slight drop off. Maybe.
I think it's hard not to be there for because, I mean, it's Jack getting beaten up, and so therefore you get Jack selling and falling and being bent into crazy positions, and Roddy just ragdolling him around into corner posts or on top of guardrails or whatever is handy to throw Jack at. And then you get Jack doing his Jack stuff,
Jack doing Jack stuff.
His flips and his flying and his impressive twists and turns with his body that most humans are completely incapable of doing, and just avoid ever doing double knees because they're terrible. That's the worst thing that he does in this match, is some of the worst double knees in the corner I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And Roddy, even to surprise the hell out of me, is Roddy busts out his crucifix diamond cutter move that he very rarely ever used in Ring of Honor.
I haven't seen it outside of this match that I can recall.
He used it on me in the trios tournament.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was just...
But it was a very rare Ring of Honor move for Roddy, I feel like. Especially by this point. So that was kind of cool to see.
One of the interesting things that I took from being in the crowd and a lot of the crowd discussion was this team was so beloved that fans wanted to see them together and not fight each other.
It's possible, yeah.
And outside of the Briscoes, I'm trying to think of another occasion where two guys, you wanted to see them together instead of against each other in Ring of Honor. It always felt like Aries and Strong against each other was great, and people didn't mind that rivalry. I think with Jack and Roddy, they just were such a great team that they never got the credit they deserved. And I would like to see, I would have liked to have seen more of it. Obviously, we're never going to see them wrestle each other again, I don't think.
Yeah, it was crazy when I texted you and it said it's been crazy to think that it's been 10 years since Jack Evans had a match Ring of Honor. There's always a possibility of Roddy getting fired and ending up back there. And Jack somehow drifting back into that Drac drifting back there too, but it's been 10 years since Jack has had a match in Ring of Honor, and even that wasn't really a match.
No, that was not. And unfortunately, I was not in the building for that final battle night. I was graduating college that day, but I can't. I just don't see Jack playing well in a corporate environment.
Yeah,
being responsible enough. It's just, and that's not a knock on Jack Evans. He is a different dude, and he lives in his own little world. I love Jack Evans. I love spending time with him. I've seen him at WrestleCon several times over the years. One year he did not recognize me, and I had to explain to him who I was, and then he kind of remembered. He wasn't necessarily in the best headspace at that point. It just, again, though, this whole faction warfare was almost doomed from the start. And you had so many guys that you needed on every show that it's just, again, we're losing out here. Not an indictment on this match, but I didn't think it was that great. I didn't think it was terrible. I just thought it was there. It was progressing a story.
Yeah, I thought it was solid enough, progressive story, and it's not a match with anybody leaving.
No, so we got that going for her.
Yeah, we got that going
show.
For it. Yeah.
And they went 15 minutes and 10 seconds. I felt like it was a little long.
You thought that was long?
Yeah.
Oh, God, what did you think about the next match?
I didn't mind that. This just felt like it dragged. I don't know. Strong blocks a reverse Hurricane Rana, hits a backbreaker, puts on a Boston Crab. Jack gets to the ropes. Rocky Romero is out. He kicks Jack Evans' head. Strong hits him with the spinning ace crusher, which we mentioned earlier, and gets the win. 15 minutes, 10 seconds.
Oh, a spinning ace crusher? It's a crucifix cutter. That's what I'm calling it.
All right, we'll call it the crucifix cutter then. Good Times, Great Memories, number 6.
Well, it kind of leaves out, Jack getting kicked in the head with a steel chair as well. And Delirious making his third appearance on the show with a steel chair, chasing them off. He was like the tack. I feel like he was tacked on. They had a match. I think that Delirious and Roddy had a fight without honor or some shit like that. Mm-hmm. But he was just kind
spot.
of the guardrail spot that knocked him out. He was kind of like tacked on to this feud. It's like whenever a third member of the team of the Resilience or the Vulture Squad was not available, insert Delirious. And him and Roddy had some good stuff during this, but it's just kind of funny. Like, he was this ancillary piece to this feud who was not a member of any specific group. So you therefore just slid into, all right, well, we're having a 6-man tag, but Ruckus isn't here, so we'll put Delirious in here. Matt Cross isn't here, so we'll just put Delirious in here.
Maybe this is why his booking of factions is so terrible. He's got PTSD from faction warfare.
I'm not sure who you take more unnecessary shots at, Delirious or Aries.
Oh, well, I'll just take a direct shot and say, fuck you, Bubba Ray Dudley. Your booking sucks.
Oh, Jesus.
Because he's my next attack victim. It's pretty disgusting booking.
Then you just assume who booked it. But
well, it's been public record that he had a lot to do with this allure nonsense, and there's nothing alluring about that.
Luckily, we don't have to talk about that because we probably won't do any current 2019 shows again for a long time.
Not until somebody does something really stupid and we got to talk about it. I'm sure that's coming sooner rather than later at this rate.
Oh, good Lord.
The next Good Times, Great Memories segment is from Gut Check, August 26, 2006. And that is the 2 out of 3 Falls world title match against the injured Bryan Danielson. All Cabana had to do was keep Danielson from winning a fall before the 60-minute time limit ran out, and he could not succeed. Therefore, Bryan Danielson retains. Cabana loses another world title match. And if you're watching on Patreon, you just saw me shake my head.
Just like the Cubs.
Till 2016. When the Indians choked. But that's okay. The Golden State Warriors are the all-time choke artists. Just ask Philadelphia 76er Joel Embiid. My new favorite player in the NBA.
Okay.
So we go to the match number 8. It's the Ring of Honor World Tag Team title match. The Briscoes, the tag team champions, taking on Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley. The not Motor City Machine Guns. The not Murder City Machine Guns. And as Shane referred to earlier when I said Jack and Roddy went too long, this one goes 34 minutes and 17 seconds. To a finish.
Yep.
And it was awesome. And at the time, I would say it was probably the best tag match in the history of Ring of Honor.
It was awesome. And they did not lose the crowd.
Ever. For one moment.
Nope. Nope.
This...
We got our money's worth out of Shelley and Sabin that night.
If we were to do play-by-play for this, there are so many different highlights and combinations, and just I feel like Alex Shelley and Jay Briscoe kind of sat down and said, okay, what do you want to do? I don't care. What do you want to do? I don't care. Cool. See you out there. And then they just went and called the match in the ring.
That probably did not happen at all. I picture notebooks with everyone's spots written down,
but it didn't feel like that. No. It just felt like this organic. Just
no. It was very good.
There was frequent talking in the ring too, which is not something that comes off on the DVD. But there was a lot of like back and forth, under their breath type stuff that if you're not sitting in the front row, you're not going to hear. But oftentimes that was how I kind of learned certain things and how things were done. There was a lot of spitting in this match, which, you know, hey, it's Ring of Honor. Let's do some spitting.
Just not in Philadelphia because that's where you get AIDS for spitting. Just ask Spring Talent.
R.I.P. Yeah. But in this circumstance, like, Shelley, and that's why I said Shelley and Jay in particular did a lot of talking to each other during this match. And I know you weren't out ringside doing the camera at this point, but can you remember any other examples of like big mouths in the ring that did a lot of talking to each other?
Well, the two Punk and Joe 1 hour draws. I mean, that was a lot of calling it in the ring and talking and communicating. Like that's kind of essential, especially if you're not apt to call every single spot ahead of time. Got to communicate in the ring.
And that's
some people are better at hiding it than others, and some just don't give a fuck, I suppose, and just talk. I think it kind of became like a fun, creative way to figure out ways to do it. Because I think back, and I think I mentioned this before, I think back to how I watched when I was a fan. And I would just think people were trash talking each other. Mm-hmm. Especially when they would get right up in each other's faces. And they're probably sitting there calling, it's Rock and Austin in each other's face. And they're probably saying, you hit the ropes, I'm going to catch you with an arm drag, I'm going to throw you off, put you with the booze. And they're calling fucking the next minute and a half worth of spots. But you just think they're trash talking.
Yep.
Mike Keener, I remember when it may have even been before my first match. I remember we were in the ring before one of the shows and just like rolling around and working on, some stuff and started going over just kind of like punches with Keener and him talking to me about that being one way to communicate. Like when you have a guy in the corner and you're putting your punches on, just be like, hit the ropes, watch the arm drag, feet up for a drop kick, and you're calling it as you're moving, so people aren't paying attention to your mouth moving. They're paying attention to your arms and your chops and your kicks. As if anybody on Patreon can watch me being animated.
All the more reason for you guys out there in listener land to get Patreon.
Different ways to do it without being obvious. Especially with cameras, cameras a lot of times are trying to get right up in the action, so you're literally just as a camera guy, I think at times trying to shoot around people calling spots, and hopefully then the editor will edit around spots being called blatantly.
One of the amazing things about this match was the consistency of everything hitting and how nobody seemed to get tired as the match went on. There was selling, but there was no tiring of the athletes.
Yeah.
And I don't think the machine guns get enough credit for their level of cardio in wrestling. Like, those guys did matches, maybe not this long by any stretch of imagination, but they would do matches where there was no stop, no pause, no change in the action, especially like matches with the Bucks. And their cardio, as Chris Sabin's knees probably feel, they never slowed down. And oftentimes that led to injuries to both Chris and Alex.
They're fast moving. They kept going, but I know then there's always something to be said with grab a hold, kid. But with this, what I really enjoyed is that you've got two true teams here. The Briscoes, obviously, and then Shelley and Sabin, who have gelled into such a true tag team. They've got to matching gear, a tag team name, even if we aren't using it. They have tagged lots of tag team move spots. Like they operate as a tag team, not just two guys who are being teamed together. They created an identity. Excuse me. The Motor City Machine Guns had an identity, not just this is Chris Sabin stuff and Alex Shelley stuff. They had the Motor City Machine Guns stuff. And it's kind of cool, like in one spot they kind of take a page out of the old Backseat Boys playbook, and they do a very dream sequence like set of moves. And of course you got the Briscoes who are excuse me, who are doing their tag team thing, and they've got their own, set of tag team moves, but they're not as flashy in their tag team combinations as Shelley and Sabin. The Briscoes tag team moves are much more just, I'm gonna set you up so my brother can kick you in the face, whereas Shelley and Sabin, it's a lot more sequences when it comes to their tag team moves. Of, I'm going to drop toe hold you, and I'm going to drop kick you in the face, and I'm going to roll you over, and then I'm going to double stomp you on your chest while I'm holding you up. Whereas the Briscoes is, I'm going to give you an atomic drop, and Jay's going to boot your face off.
Which is what
you still have two teams who have they are teams, and it does make a difference to me.
When you look at contrasting styles like this, did you think this was going to click the way it did?
Yeah, I mean, especially with the way the Briscoes are, I think you'd be hard pressed. You have to be really shitty to not be able to gel with the Briscoes, because they can do both of them they can be the brawler, they can be the wrestler. The first 10 minutes of this match is not 10 minutes, but 5-7 minutes of this match is a wrestling match, and it's the Briscoes out wrestling the Machine Guns. It's not strikes and kicks and brawling. It's chain wrestling and hold for hold stuff, and the Briscoes are on they're the ones who are up on that. The Briscoes can do their high flying moves, more so Mark than Jay usually. They're an all around team, and kind of if you're having a bad match with the Briscoes, maybe you're either not ready for it, or you should find another job.
So here's kind of the hot take on this. I felt like the Young Bucks and Briscoes matches were good, not great. Yeah. They never got to this level.
Well, I haven't seen too many of the second wave of Young Bucks matches when the Young Bucks returned as part of like more the New Japan guys than, the PWG guys or TNA guys, the Gen Me. But those matches, like the 2009, 10 matches, I definitely can agree. Like, yeah, they weren't there yet. The Bucks, and by they I mean, sorry, the Bucks were not there yet in 2009 and 10. They were still. I didn't feel like the Bucks. I mean, right now we're sidebarring here, but I didn't feel like the Bucks found themselves until they were Generation Me. That's when I felt like the Bucks started to become something more than just
they had personality,
move guys. Yeah, like they were. That's when I realized, like, wow, these guys are awesome heels.
So I'm referring to more like 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 matches that they had. Well, I guess not 2019, but like through the end of their Ring of Honor run. I just didn't think that the Bucks and Briscoes, as good as the matches were, they never got to this level of Machine Guns Briscoes.
Well, I think the slow build factor of this match is what really helps elevate it, because yes, it goes 35 minutes, and to me it does feel every bit of those 35 minutes. It does not feel like a match that goes by in a breeze. It feels as long to me. It feels as long as it is, but it wasn't. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's not a lot of times you'll say, oh, it was 35 minutes, but it went by so fast. Like, this to me did not go by fast at all. But it was paced really well, I thought. It had its ups and downs, and the crowd, it took the crowd up and down. It felt much more like those, I don't know, those 35 minutes were not a chore. They were an engaging 35 minutes.
Almost like the crowd was there rooting on for a great match as opposed to having heels and baby faces. And that was one of the things where, you know, the people that I was sitting with, some people were not necessarily the biggest Briscoe fans. And
those are called heathens.
No, they're called East Coasters.
They're called New Yorkers.
they're from around New York City area. So yes. But if you look at this group of wrestlers, these four guys, they had this amazing chemistry together. And I just think that this was the defining tag team match for a generation. So like you've got junior heavyweights that can work like heavyweights working like junior heavyweights. You've got an extended period of the match where the crowd is into this whole thing. This is the definition. When you go to Webster's Dictionary, it's a video of this match with the entrances included, since they're not anywhere elsewhere. And this is what tag team wrestling should be. Everybody is better off after the match. They paid off the storyline. And this crowd does not slow down at all. They were fully engaged the entire match.
It sounds like you were fully engorged the entire match.
I love this fucking match.
Yeah,
that was the.
No, it was really good. It was. Really
it's everything I love about tag team wrestling, and to me, at the time, it felt like the Machine Guns had been kind of ignored in TNA in favor of like the Dudley Boys or whatever they were called, Team 3D. You had what the hell's his name? James Storm and the other one.
America's Most Wanted at this point, or was it Beer Money? I have no idea. I don't know when these
Beer Money
things,
yet.
Yeah.
I think it was America's Most Wanted still. Yeah. And then you had these guys who were in the X division as singles, and then they put them together as a tag team, low on the card, so they could have an exciting match. And that was it. And then you see them come to Ring of Honor after, Shelley's got this large reputation in ROH. Sabin, not so much, but he's had a couple moments and bright spots, including a DVD cover. And they come in here and they just tear the house down. and it never slowed down. I put in the notes the Ricky Marvin, Kotaro Suzuki, Briscoes tag match is the only thing that I could think of close to this. This was unfucking believable. Just, I mean, in person, in DVD form, everything, it holds up so well, and I don't think it will ever be replicated again at this level. I really don't. I've not seen a better tag match since.
Yeah, I don't know. Now I'm just kind of digging through my brain and thinking of the original tag title classic with Bryan and Tyler against the Wolves, Kings and the Briscoes stuff.
All good. This just, I don't know what it was that just pushed this thing over the top.
It's something.
While you're thinking, I'll just go into the finish here. Sabin clotheslines Mark. They trade forearms, they being Jay and Chris Sabin. And Enziguri gets hit on Jay. Mark crotches him on the top rope and attempts a super cutthroat driver. Shelley pulls Mark away. The Guns hit the Doomsday dropkick combo. Shelley hits a super kick. Then the air raid crash for a 2 count. He hits the shell shock for 2. Jay gets a save. Mark blocks sliced bread number 2, the greatest thing since sliced bread, and hits the cutthroat driver for 2. Jay puts Sabin down on the floor and helps Mark hit the cutthroat driver top rope leg drop combination for the win. 34 minutes, 17 seconds. What a just 100-mile-an-hour finish. And to me, it was like running into a brick wall. Boom, 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 boom. Smash.
Dead. And they built to it. They felt like they did. So I said, it's like if you feel like this match is 35 minutes and feels like 35 minutes, but it's a built up 35 minutes. And just realizing too, like thinking about it, this was Shelley's first match back since 2006. Oh, almost maybe a year basically. So I don't know. I'm hard pressed to think of. I don't think the return engagement match reaches this level from my recollection. I remember not being a big fan of the match, the Motor Machine Guns Age of the Fall tag from the night before return engagement.
Machine Guns and Steen and Generico in New York sucked because, well, it didn't fit.
The match against Aries and Bryan, good, but
not at this level.
I can confidently say it's the best match that the Machine Guns had in Ring of Honor.
And I think just depending on what you want from the Briscoes.
Yeah. Which version of the Briscoes?
Yes.
I think you get a good bit of all of the versions of the Briscoes in this.
Because you had 35 minutes to do it.
Exactly.
And that's what made this. The length, the styles, everything clicked. There was no, blown spot, or at least obviously blown spots. So a couple follow-up questions on the match itself.
Yeah.
Well, I guess on the Machine Guns and how they related to ROH at this point. Any thoughts of them coming back at this point or talked about? Or was it just, hey, we have them for a night?
And this is like somehow we got them for a night. Because they couldn't come back for another year. Like almost to the date. I think it was like the April shows of 2008 were the Tag Wars and Return Engagement round. Yeah, they weren't back again for another year. Again, I don't know. Maybe there was some, or if this was just we're getting them and then not again, obviously because of pay-per-view.
And that's what this, it's like we're getting all these great matches in, and I didn't think that, Shelley and Gabe had the best of relationships. So maybe that was part of it.
Can't comment. Don't recall any. I don't recall issues, but
I think from what I remember, like there was some vision issues of what each person saw that were contrasting. But I don't have any concrete examples of it. I vaguely remember it from the first run through. But this is arguably the greatest tag team match in the history of Ring of Honor, and it endures.
Yeah, it does. I agree with that. It endures. It still holds up 12 years later.
Well, before we head to the main event, we do have one final segment of Good Times, Great Memories. And this is Good Times, Great Memories number 7. I wonder why we settled on 7 for this. This is from the 5th Year Festival Chicago in February 24th, to be specific, 2007. And this one sees Colt Cabana ending his feud with Jimmy Jacobs and Lacey as he grabs Lacey's heel. He beats Jacobs with it until he can hit the Colt 45. He also hits Lacey with a Colt 45 and puts her over Jacobs, pinning them both for the win. I believe this show is available in the archives. So if you'd like to hear more, check it out. We get a promo from Roderick Strong and Rocky Romero. Davey Richards is not here tonight. Again, one of the ongoing problems of faction warfare is getting everybody's schedules aligned. Davey, I assume, was Noah?
Sure. We'll go with sure. Why not? New Japan, Noah, whatever. He's somewhere. He's not there. Fighting fires.
Ambulance, driving, medical school.
Who knows?
Nah.
But the heels didn't have that like fill-in though. The random this person is our designated
that could have been the spot for Hallowicked.
They did now. That could have been a spot for like, I don't know, Kozlov or something.
Anybody, really.
Yeah.
Kingston. Somebody.
There we go. Yeah.
But they brag about putting out Jack Evans tonight, and Roderick isn't happy because Delirious keeps sticking his nose in his business. Just be glad he's not poking you with a pencil. If Delirious comes after him again, he won't be held responsible for what he does, and that would go on to lead to arguably the best matches Delirious had in Ring of Honor beside Bryan. Those brawls with Roderick were absolutely tremendous.
Indeed.
But that brings us to time to pay the bills before we head into our main event.
This episode of An Honorable Mention is presented by Patreon.com/AnHonorablePod. Become a patron today and get exclusive perks you won't get anywhere else, like early access to the shows, uncut and commercial-free, a discount at itsadvdproduct.com, watch-along bonus shows that you won't get anywhere else, and more. Patreon.com/AnHonorablePod. Become a patron today and be someone that's worthy of an honorable mention.
Well, we're getting ready for the main event here. This is the emotional moments. I remember kind of before this match even started, the crowd kind of had this very odd, like, combination of joy and sadness.
Yeah, that sounds about accurate.
It was interesting to kind of look around and take notice of just how many people had Cabana-related merchandise on that Ring of Honor didn't sell.
Well,
would you like to explain that?
I mean, I wasn't the one having conversations with him about price breakdowns and his share of the profits or anything like that. So my assumptions would be that it's money related.
Correct.
And that's why when we did sell Colt merch, it was mostly his merch that we bought off him and sold it at the merch table.
Which indirectly was kind of the, beginning of Pro Wrestling Tees.
No, he's not the only person we did that with. We did that with Steen as well, down the line. We sold some of his shirts, buying them off him directly or through 1 hour tees.
Mm-hmm.
selling them that way. We did it with Generico. We did it with Brian. We did it with, I don't remember if we did it with Hero. So we ended up doing that with a lot of people. We would just buy their merch off them and sell it at the gimmick table to prevent low-key-esque selling them on the sidewalk outside of a building moments.
Oh, one of my favorite memories.
Yes.
The fact he was the one low-key merchandise moment that I can remember is him selling his own stuff out of the back of Ring of Honor's rented van that he somehow got the keys to. I don't remember whether Viking was around yet or not driving, or who was driving.
Loki was not around by then. Loki was long gone before Eric Viking.
Trying to think of who would have been driving the van for everybody. But
I don't even know because... God, I'm trying to think around when we started even getting vans, because for a while it was just fend for yourself. Get yourself to the building. I don't remember when we started getting vans.
This would have been like the night of the Carino Cabana Key Homicide tag.
In Cleveland?
In Cleveland.
God, I don't even know who would have been...
But either way,
it's a very small number of people who would have been the ones doing it at that point.
Yeah. Either way, it was the company van that he had his merchandise out of a bag in the back of, and you could go up and get it from him before the show. When he could have been in the locker room preparing for his tag match. I'm sure Carino was thrilled.
Anyway,
we get to the main event of the night. It is Colt Cabana taking on Adam Pearce alongside Shane Hagedorn. Yet another show. You're in the main event.
I am. I guess I main evented a lot of shows.
Well, so did Adam Pearce.
Yeah.
Coincidence? I think not. What was kind of your setup for this main event?
What do you mean?
So you're obviously Cabana and Pearce have their match put together. You had to be in on some of that, putting it together, sitting there listening, at least being told what to do.
Yeah.
Any nerves, excitement?
Both.
What did you feel? How did you feel about being a part of Cabana's theoretical last match?
I don't think I really thought about it like that going into it. Just kind of, it's a match, do my spots, get my shit in that I have to do. And then it kind of, I guess it's just during the actual match, I'm not really thinking about it as I'm being involved in Cabana's last Ring of Honor match. I think, what's a great way to describe it? Sometimes I think pro wrestling is the ultimate in method acting. For that time frame, you are 1,000% immersed in your character, at least for me. Not really thinking about anything else but that. So the idea of it being Cabana's last match was not a real thing for the time frame I was out there. I guess that's the best way I could describe it. It's before and after. Was it anything more than just that segment, I suppose?
You had a interesting relationship with Cabana when he came back during the early portions of the Steen and Generico feud. You had a big role there, but at this point, what was the person-to-person relationship like with Cabana?
It was like Uncle Colt. I mean, this was 12 years ago. It's very, very different, larger world outside, beyond just Ring of Honor. Punk being my trainer, Cabana kind of was my wrestling uncle to me. To the point that it continued that he was one of, if not the first person I heard from after I got fired. Same day, within a couple hours. It's amazing how fast, word travels. I know that I was one of the, at least as far as the roster goes, I think I knew he was going before The Office did. Close enough to have like real conversations about stuff like that. Even if he got mad at me for calling him Scott once in a fan gathering.
We're gonna have to bleep that.
He did. He got
please.
He got mad at me for calling him that once at the fan gathering a few weeks before at Detroit WrestleMania weekend. Well, he's sitting next to Adam at the fan gathering. I was like, come on. All right.
That's the one line I've never considered crossing.
Selective kayfabe. That's what that was right there.
Well, isn't that the story of Ring of Honor?
That is the story of pro wrestling. Selective kayfabe.
On the Ring of Honor level, the access to the line between fans and wrestlers, that's why we're doing this show, literally, is so thin. Selective kayfabe is the perfect.
Yeah, don't call me by my real name, but I'm sitting here having a beer with the guy that I was just trying to murder an hour ago.
Or like you go to the parties after the show and you're kind of sitting there going, oh, wow, like these guys all just beat each other up. And then I paid to see that. And now I'm sitting here having a conversation with them. I vividly recall like going to the first Greg H after party in Dayton that I went to.
And the Italian place?
Yeah, Dominic's. May it rest in peace as well, along with the Montgomery County Fairgrounds. And like I walked in and I had met some of the guys before, but it was very casual. It was like, hello, I'm Jeff. They're like, oh, you're Jay Swole on the message boards. Oh, okay. And, you know, like they could put a face with the name and the big mouth. And like at the one in Dayton, it was very much like you got to have a conversation. I remember talking to Joe about a movie we had both just seen and relating to these guys on a level outside of wrestling. And Cabana was always one of those people.
Yep, that's exactly what I was going to say. Is Cabana was very much a man of the people, very relatable and accessible in a lot of ways to the fans. Also, he's a great hustler, as we discussed.
Absolutely.
But him and Hero up there as two of the best hustlers of the time. And it was, I wish I could have picked up some of that from Uncle Colt, but that was not in my nature to be like that. He was always good to me. That's the best way. Always good to me, and I was very excited and very happy for him.
As was I, and that wasn't always the case when somebody was headed off to WWE or TNA. I was kind of pissed in some cases because I just knew it wasn't going to end well. I was convinced Cabana was going to be a superstar to the point where I would never see him again.
Yeah.
And I remember this night telling him, like, I'll probably never see you again. He goes, yeah, you'll see me again. Like, come on. And it was funny because I went down to Orlando the next year for Mania weekend, and I texted him and said, hey, we're all staying at this hotel, and he and Matt Sydal came by the hotel. Sydal had recently signed as well, and they came by the hotel to say hello. And I'll save the rest of that story for when we do that Orlando WrestleMania weekend. But the idea that him and Sydal would want to come hang out with the fans while they're WWE superstars, WWE contracted superstars, shows the kind of people that Cabana and Sydal both were. And I mean, there's a great picture.
And a chance to get a free meal.
No, we did not eat.
Oh.
No,
okay.
There were no meals whatsoever.
Wow.
It was just literally we're hanging out by the pool, just
nice,
catching up and, talking about life. I remember Cabana was staying at the hotel with us. He was living wherever FCW was.
I remember this hotel because we literally all stayed there. Greg rented a shit ton of rooms that year, and we literally everybody
was there.
Yeah. There was a
Okay.
lot of people staying in the hotel.
I remember
I have
Cabana
some
came
great
down.
pictures from that hotel from that weekend.
Well, then patreon.com/an honorable pod. Those
No,
pictures.
when we cover those shows.
Yeah, that's right. That's where those pictures will go. But I remember Cabana came down to the room I was in, and we had a big, fans only party. And Cabana came down to hang out with us for, and Cabana doesn't drink. The rest of us were drunk. I mean, I was obliterated, and I took this ridiculous picture with Cabana. And to this day, we always joke about how we need to do another picture together, like an updated version. And maybe in June when I see him, if I don't see him before that. But he's just a great person and somebody I admire for the way he treats others. And I think he's an example that every professional wrestler should take after. And I'm now done blowing smoke up his ass. So let's talk about the match itself.
I was not wearing elbow pads, and it was really weird to look at. But I'm pretty sure that I didn't have elbow pads because Davey Richards borrowed them, and they were never to be seen again on a prior weekend.
Well, he was off doctoring.
Yes,
ambulance
lawyering
driving.
or ambulance driving or
Alluring people.
helping babies be born. Yeah, pretty sure, because I looked and I was like, why am I not wearing elbow pads? That looks really weird. And I think that was why. I think I probably let Davey borrow them one day and never came back.
But you're here with Pierce, and why did you give Davey your elbow pads?
Because I was nice, and he didn't have one, and he wanted an elbow pad, and I think he kind of did the pull it off a lariat and throw it into the crowd spot, and was like, cool, there goes my elbow pad. Can Rhett or Ernie or somebody at ringside try and go find it for me? Nope, never saw it again. Notorious for such acts, along with the wrist tapes.
I was going to say the king of the wrist tape stealing.
Yes. Yeah.
But you're here with Pierce. You're in the manservant role, which I know you probably weren't the biggest fan of it, but it fit, and it got a reaction.
That's a yes and no. It was great to work with Adam and be involved in something and have a role instead of just the only heel out of the graduates, and that turning into something. But I didn't. When I wrestled, I did not wrestle the way that I wanted to wrestle. I wrestled the way that Gabe wanted me to, which was like old school heel shit. Wasn't what I wanted to do, but it's what I was asked to do, so I did it.
Like
Green
a professional.
And also being green as fuck and just not I don't know, putting forth what I wanted out of wrestling at the time. But I learned a lot, and it was a very, very good experience for me. Being the manservant. And I said, and I always made sure my face was out there on camera. Even if I didn't have a match, I was doing something as long as Adam was on the show.
And to be honest with you, like, Adam is a great wrestler to take after. Was a great wrestler. Now he's transitioned into the next stage of his career. But his style, to me, was something I really enjoyed. And I remember when Ring of Honor booked him for the first time, I remember being very excited.
And then you're like, why is he in a 4-way? Why is he in a 6-man?
Exactly. That 4-way on Long Island when he made his debut was just not the way to debut Adam Pearce, who's a fantastic heel. But it just, I thought your character fit so well with Adam and his style in the ring that it gave you a good rub.
Yeah.
And maybe had influenced you. But the history of Cabana and Pierce dates all the way back to some of the indies that they worked. IWA Mid-South, the one in Wisconsin with Carmine.
Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, it's safe to say that what we were going for with this was a similar vibe, albeit with a distinct heel and babyface as the Punk and Cabana.
Mm-hmm.
Minus, 2 out of 3 falls. Obviously, we weren't going to do that with this one. But taking two people who are very familiar with one another and have history, and there's your farewell.
So Cabana comes out and he gets rapped to the ring by Kid Russell, who does his songs. Kid Russell, I should say. Kip's his real name. I can do that. I'm friends with the guy. Leave me be. But Kid Russell and Cabana former roommates. And I remember the story being that they had no couch in their apartment. They instead had a weightlifting bench in the apartment that was there as the couch. Yeah. So, welcome to indie wrestling, folks.
Yeah.
But Cabana
slept on a mattress on the floor for a long time.
Cabana gets a ton of streamers.
I want to say this may be the most streamers. This because Kobashi was a great visual. Punk was a great visual. But I think the volume of streamers for Cabana topped either of those.
It's ridiculous. This is the single most ever.
As evidenced by the mummification of Adam Pearce.
Pierce would attack Cabana before the bell even begins in this just sea of streamers in the ring. It was
a great visual. A great visual.
And then Cabana would come back with a backdrop and he'd wrap Pierce's legs in the streamers.
It's so hard not to just lose your shit being ringside for this. Like, I don't know how Adam during some of this he had to be like biting his tongue, biting the side of his mouth to not just because especially the first like 5 minutes are just so ridiculous in all the best ways that how do you not break?
It just makes me smile when I went back and watched this. It just made me smile. And I think that's, you at ringside, Pierce, who I have such a respect for as a wrestler. And Cabana is he's somebody I put on a pedestal. So the combination of the three, this crowd being there, bringing back so many fond memories. When Pierce bails at the beginning of the match, you're pulling the streamers off of him, and Pierce gets on the microphone and threatens to leave if anybody chants for Cabana again. So typical Memphis 101.
Yeah.
Which I love.
It's easy and it's perfect for this. That shtick isn't always going to work in a Ring of Honor match necessarily, but this was the perfect environment for it.
Spoon feeding the crowd, and I love it. I love it. I love that everybody bought into everything. And I don't know if there's a lot of play-by-play for this match that we can, talk about, but it's basically the gist of it is embarrassing Pierce.
Yeah,
the entire time.
Is. The entire 20 some minutes this match goes is just embarrassing.
Oh, no, they didn't go quite that long. They went 13.
Was it 13? Okay. Okay.
It was the perfect timing, the perfect amount of time. It was a highlight reel for Cabana. At one point, you trip Cabana, Pierce clips his leg.
I think I screwed up. For some reason, I think I screwed up. I don't know why. I looked at that and the fact that I literally did the exact same spot a minute later, 2 minutes later before the chair spot. I'm started thinking, did I do that at the wrong time, or did we actually call 2 tripping spots back to back? I don't know.
Well, you basically get the boot from ringside.
That's because that dirty cheat hit himself, tried to Eddie Guerrero me with his chair.
Well, you were sent to the back.
I shouldn't have been. It's very clear if you watch the videotape back that Cabana hits the ring apron with the chair and then sells it like I hit him.
And let's also give a shout out.
12 years later, I want a rematch.
I would love a rematch. I'm here for the rematch.
Yes, we'll have an Eighth stage of hell.
Yes. Yeah, we had 7 of them already. They were awesome. By the way, if you haven't seen the documentary 7 Stages of Hell, highly recommended. Go get that. Maybe available at coltcabana.com, coltmerch.com. I don't know. But yeah, I think it is. But our favorite security guard actually carries you out. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I was going for before Zach Yeager came to carry me out. I was going for my best Ric Flair on the apron, whereas I'm holding the ropes, going now. My headphones come flying off my head. And they're all tangled up on my phone now. Shit.
Hagedorn broke his headphones trying to sell this.
I was like going for my.
This is great.
I was like going for my best Ric Flair impersonation.
Another reason to get Patreon.
Sell right there on the apron and just trying to be as ridiculous and over the top as possible. And it was so much fun. And
it fit perfectly with this match.
Yeah.
Because everything was over the top.
Yeah.
Which happens to be the name of Cabana's favorite movie. So you're gone.
That was, yeah. And just being carried like a little baby, I guess that's what Mitch Franklin felt like in his lifetime. Except I was not as dirty. Rest in peace, Mitch Franklin.
All right, yeah, well. Pierce would undo Cabana's boot and kicks his head when he tries to lace it back up. We get the beautiful moonsault from Cabana, which we've talked about many a times is one of the coolest looking visuals.
Yeah, and one of
somebody of that size.
God, now I forget which clip it was. In one of the best times memory, whatever the hell they called them. No, they called this clip something different. They called them like the best times or something like that. Yeah, that's the general, but they called the clips like the best times. Anyway, there's one of them he does the moonsault and he gets so much air on it. It's to the outside, and it just like it was terrifying to watch a man his size flippy like that.
Yeah, Cabana is about 6'1", 240, somewhere in that vicinity. Like it's a big boy. It's doing
an acai moonsault.
But it was always one of the great highlights.
Yeah.
Along with Pierce's spinebuster, which is up next, and then the figure 4 leg lock. Cabana reverses the figure 4 leg lock, and we would head into the finish after Pierce counters the flying asshole into a back suplex.
That was a fucking German. That was a straight dump you on your head German. That was like the most Ring of Honor spot of the entire match.
It was the only Ring of Honor spot of the entire match.
And then I thought it's like, in my recollections, that's not something I can remember seeing too often. Somebody catching him in the flying asshole and dropping him on his dome.
Probably because Cabana said, no, you let me hit my spot. I'm not landing on my head.
Yeah.
Because he's intelligent. One thing I do want to go back and hit from this match is that when Cabana is fixing his boot, Pierce pulls out a bottle of Gold Bond from underneath the ring. I feel like we need to talk about the Gold Bond Mafia.
Well, God, that's a deep cut from again, I just blank. I can't remember the name.
It's IWA Mid-South.
Was it? I thought it was Carmine. Okay.
I think it was probably both.
Maybe. What? Punk, Cabana, Prazak, Hero, Pierce. What?
Chucky
Smooth. Yeah, that is a deep cut of pro wrestling history right there. So it was a nice little touch.
Yep, a little bit of a nod to the past and the relationship between all those guys.
Oh my God! I just Googled it, and the image that comes up is absolutely amazing.
I'm do the same thing right now.
It just says Pierce, Hero, Punk, Cabana, Prazak, and Paulie Smooth is what it says. And the picture is just of Prazak with his long hair. Like a Punk literally with one tattoo, maybe two.
It's the Pepsi logo.
Yeah, and the straight edge belly rocker. 3PW Chikara and IWA Mid-South is what it credits it to. So it was this IWA Mid-South.
The promo picture with Gold Bond Mafia and Impact font underneath it is pretty good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, because you forget that these guys wrestled on the original Chikara show, too, as the Gold Bond Mafia. The very first Chikara show, they're on the promo poster for.
And that is definitely Chuck E. Smooth. I don't know where this Paul character comes from. But we get to the finish of the match, and Pierce would climb to the top. He hits a leg drop for 2. Pierce had an underrated leg drop.
Yeah, I like it.
Throw that out there.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times he would hit it, but...
Would you want to be laying there while that big
no
old butt falls on your head?
No, it's the dad bod leg drop.
No, that's that it was an impressive visual to see.
Because his selling when he would miss it on his face of just this shock and horror was awesome. Cabana fires up, and so Pierce rakes the eyes. We get a Cabana slam of Pierce off the top. We get the bionic elbow, the flying asshole, and then the Billy Goat's curse gets Pierce to submit 13-31. Just a happy farewell. I can't imagine a better way to wrap up Colt Cabana's first run in Ring of Honor.
Yeah, it was a goodbye that was very suited, both in form and presentation. Like everything about it, it fit, including that not getting the baby face, like both guys hug, shake hands. Mm-hmm. Instead, Cabana getting a loogie spat in his face.
Yeah, so after the match, Cabana puts over Pierce, helping him getting started in wrestling. He wants Pierce to be a good sport about losing so he can leave with the respect of someone he looks up to. And Pierce grabs a microphone and talks about how nice Cabana's family has been to him. And I will say this, Cabana's parents are wonderful people. If you've never had the pleasure of meeting Mr. and Mrs. Cabana, I feel bad for you because they are absolutely awesome. They remind me a lot of my grandparents on my mom's side. When my grandparents are in a pleasant mood, they're just joyous, like older Jewish people. And maybe not every day are my grandparents in a pleasant state of mind and mood, but when they are, they very much remind me of Mr. and Mrs. Cabana. And I think that's really cool how supportive they were of Colt and his career and how helpful they were to so many people.
Oh, Mama Cabana used to be on Art of Wrestling.
Yeah.
she had her own
Colt,
little spot on the podcast.
Colt, I tell him to bring her back every time. And he said, we'll see, I want her to watch like Tracy Smothers. I pitched that and it didn't go anywhere. So Pierce grabs the microphone and he's talking about Cabana's family and he's proud of how great a wrestler Cabana has become. And then he spits in his face and walks out.
Yes.
Awesome.
Forever a heel.
What a way to get heat. Cabana is upset, but the rest of the locker room comes out. Well, all the baby faces and Billy Rock, for some reason, is there to come out. And Mr. and Mrs. Cabana enter the ring.
He probably came and helped us set up, hoping to get a dark match, and then we just didn't have any, I guess.
Maybe. It was just such an odd thing because the DVD cover has like all the baby faces around Cabana, and Billy Rock is there. And I'm just like, what the... I remember the DVD came out, and I saw the art on the website, and I was like, what the fuck's Billy Rock doing there? Billy Rock was this underdog babyface that Ian Rotten was using, and he worked Chicago and St. Louis Indies, and he was okay.
He came out to say goodbye.
Yeah, and he was okay, but it was just a kind of an odd thing. It's true. He was like right in the middle of this thing. Mm-hmm. It's like, here's Kerry Silkin, who owned the company, and then like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So Colt's on the mic. He thanks Kerry for buying and saving ROH, and he references Paul London's classy exit from Ring of Honor when he kissed the logo on the mat, and he says that he wants to do something equally iconic, but he can't think of anything, which got a big pop. He talks about thinking he was too fat, too short, not well enough connected to be a pro wrestler, but he worked hard and did it anyways. He puts over his family for being supportive and puts over ROH for making him a star. I would argue he was a star before ROH, but the level of superstardom on the indies came from Ring of Honor.
There you go.
He says he's not going to call Gabe Sapolsky a genius or talk about how great ROH is because he knows everyone in the crowd already knows that is the case. The only thing he didn't get to do in ROH was to represent the company as the champion. So one day he'll be back to win the title. So Mark Brown, I know you're listening to this. Please relay that message to Bubba Ray Dudley or Delirious or whoever's booking this week.
You're hopeless.
I want him on as champion. Stop making him be a broadcaster. Let him wrestle. I can't imagine the promotion without him.
Hey, pay me to sit there and do commentary and not have to beat up my body. I'm good with that.
Yeah, but give him a token run with the belt. Just by up. How about that? I'll never say a mean thing about anybody in the Ring of Honor office again.
Wow.
I promise. On my grandparents.
Wow. That's worth a 24-hour title run if I think.
I have to be in attendance for this title video.
Oh, now you're just adding fucking...
No, because if I know, hey, he's getting the belt.
I have to be in attendance for it. It needs to happen in Ohio at 4 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Anywhere in the world.
You have all these caveats.
I just need to know ahead of time it's going to happen so that I can be there. And then you can take the belt off him the next night. I don't care. So I'll never say another mean thing. And you know what? Whatever. Just do it. It'll sell DVDs and our Honor Club buys. The Honor Club girls will like it, so do it. I just can't... What's that?
Do they still make DVDs?
I don't know. I can't imagine anybody's buying them. If so, you can stream it on the Honor Club. But here's the thing. So everybody's in the ring. Everybody is shaking hands. Some of them are hugging. It was kind of funny. Delirious is standing there, and Cabana walks right by him and shakes his hand and keeps going. And Delirious just kind of turns his head. I figured there'd be a little bit more of a reaction there, but it's kind of a mindless thing. He hugs BJ, hugs Jay Briscoe, and Billy Joel's The Entertainer starts playing from Wayne and Mary of Wayne and Mary. Perfect farewell?
Yeah. Yep. It was yeah. Like I said, it was the right sort of match, yeah. Yep.
One other note I wanted to put at the end of this. We've talked about the person that Colt Cabana is, the wrestler that Colt Cabana is, the relationships we've had with him. This is another emotional moment for me, crying at a wrestling show. So
yeah, I see when you reach out and you grab his hand and you say something.
It's.
You said, "I want to have your babies."
No.
That's what I saw. I can read lips.
Babies.
I can read lips. You said 2007. You said, "I want to have your babies."
Even in 2007, I didn't want kids.
Yeah.
So here we are, 12 years later, still good on the children thing. But in wrestling, there are good people, there are great people, and then there's Colt Cabana. And
so does that make him better than great or less than good?
Better than great.
Oh, okay. All right.
He's authentic.
Gotcha.
So I love this show. Top to bottom, I think it's one of the best shows Ring of Honor produced during the Gabe Sapolsky era. And I think it is something that stands the test of time. You know, you and I, we've watched a lot of these shows that don't age well.
No, but I think this one beyond Cabana's farewell and the Briscoe's Motor City Machine Guns tag, it's easy to forget anything but those two. But there's a lot more to this. In the Shingo and the Morishima, Rocky and Aries, Roddy and Jack for its own significance. And if you enjoy watching poor skinny white kids get beat to death by their friend.
Yes.
The opening 6-man is fun. Like the only thing that's kind of middle of the road is the Daniels and Stevens match.
And it wasn't even that it was bad; it just didn't do anything for Eric.
Yeah,
Daniels is leaving, and Eric doesn't get any bit of a rub.
It just, in fact, it just gets dismissed.
And we completely ignored the four-corner survival match.
And the four-corner survival match. So it's
awesome.
I do have a lot of good to great stuff on this show. So maybe someday over the rainbow, you guys will be able to watch it who have not been able to ever see it.
Yeah, and there are ways to see this show. You can support the show by heading over to patreon.com/anhonorablepod. You'll get this show early. You'll get it on video if you pay the $12 fee. You'll get exclusive watch-alongs. You'll get the HDNet Look-Back series where we watch every episode of HDNet and do a little bit of commentary, talk about what's happening and what was happening in the promotion at the time. And then you can take part for as low as $4 a month. But with your subscription, you get a 15% off coupon at itsadvdproduct.com. You also get your choice in DVD from my personal collection, so you could choose this show. You could also head over to itsadvdproduct.com beginning Tuesday, April 30th, which is today, as this show drops at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And from April 30th at 3 p.m. to May 3rd at midnight, using the promo code AHM50, that's AHM50, you will get 50% off your order of $30 or more from itsadvdproduct.com. And with every order on itsadvdproduct.com, you'll get a free DVD of your choosing from my collection. Of course, all those DVDs will come via Dropbox to foreign customers and non-48 states. And if you're in the 48 states, in the United States, excluding Alaska and Hawaii, I will mail it to you. So head over to itsadvdproduct.com. We've got a bunch of new merch that just went up. Backpacks, T-shirts. What's your favorite piece of new merch that's out there, partner?
Fuck them.
Yeah. Mine too. If you'd like
Fuck
a T-shirt.
Or am I pushing the limits posters to see if I get a cease and desist? Hey, Alex Payne. They were in Alex Payne's intellectual property. He made them. He designed them, and that is true, 100%. So it's a DVDproduct.com, patreon.com/honorablepod. The best ways to support the show. You can advertise on this show if you're an independent wrestling promotion and you want people to hear about your show, your talent, what you have coming up. We'll promote it. Head over to advertisecast.com /an honorable mention with Shane Hagedorn and Jeff. That's at advertisecast.com /an honorable mention with Shane Hagedorn and Jeff. And we'll promote your shows. We'll promote your podcasts, your products, including our partners at Tiege Hanley, the best skincare company in the world. Undisputed fact. And if you have evidence that contradicts it, it's simply made up. If you're on Patreon, you can see how great our faces look. Thanks to the skincare regime Tiege Hanley has. Soft,
so use
smooth
promo code honorable mention and get 20% off your first box at tiegehanley.com. And we are brought to you by the Creative Control Network. So be sure to follow the head of the Creative Control Network, Mr. Joe Feeney. He's on Twitter at JFF, NEY, 3RD. And at the CC Network 1 for all the latest news and notes on the Creative Control Network. Be sure to follow our scientist of sound, our astronaut of audio, our purveyor of production, the bassmaster general, the technician of trouble, the best broadcast machine, the award-winning Mr. Zach Johnson. He's on Twitter and Instagram at RadioZT as he delivers us the best intro every week and the best outro that you're about to hear and make sure we sound cooler than the other side of the pillow. This episode of An Honorable Mention that you are listening to right now is available on iTunes, Spreaker, the Google Music Play Store, Spotify, Amazon Echo, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Stitcher, Hipcast, and for under 3 hours, SoundCloud. Next week, we have a special interview lined up. May 14th, the Manhattan Mayhem poll. Go out there and vote. Manhattan Mayhem 1, Manhattan Mayhem 3, Manhattan Mayhem 5, and Manhattan Mayhem 7 are on the poll.
It will end this evening, so get your votes in now.
May 21st, Supercard of Honor 6 / We've Been Sold. And May 28th, the Shane Hagedorn produced From Love to Hate, the Jimmy Jacobs story. Coming your way. Social media. Be sure to follow us at An Honorable Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Also Facebook. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at the Jeff Schwartz. Drop the for Facebook. Partner, where can we find you?
At Hagedorn Shane on Twitter and Instagram, Shane Hagedorn on Facebook, Shane Hagedorn on YouTube, and look up An Honorable Mention on YouTube as well. Give us a follow so we can get to the 100 subscribers and get our own customized URL.
Well, I think we've said it all this week. So there's only one thing left to do. To quote the great Sal Rinauro, no need to trip out. It's time to dip out. Slap the porpoise. This one is over. We're out. Keep your chin up. We'll see you next week for a very unique episode of An Honorable Mention with a special guest.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright blessed day, the dark sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I never knew. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world.